I, 22F, believe my BF, 28M, might be tampering with my toothbrush. This is probably the weirdest and most disgusting thing I've ever typed, but I think I'm slowly realizing that my boyfriend has been doing something really fucked up. We've been together for about a year and a half. He's always been a little passive-aggressive when he's upset, he won't talk things through, he just gets quiet or moody and gives me the silent treatment. Or accuses me of trying to continue arguments when I'm trying to hash things out until the conversation ends. He loves to reset and act like an issue or disagreement never happened. Anyways, a few months ago, I started noticing my toothbrush was being moved. It's electronic and it would be off the charger on its side or the whole thing scooter back forward. I thought it was just getting knocked around because our counterpart is small. Eventually, I started noticing that it would be wet in the middle of the day or other times when I hadn't recently brushed my teeth. One time I noticed something on it like it had been used to clean grout. That's when I started keeping a small spare toothbrush hidden in my makeup bag which never was moved or messed with. Here's the part that really makes me feel sick. I finally confronted him after struggling to come to the reality that someone might be this disgusting and said something straightforward along the lines of, "Are you doing something to my toothbrush when you're mad at me?" And he just laughed and said, "You're crazy." And then refused to talk about it further. I don't even know how to process that. Like what? I haven't seen him do it, so I don't have proof. But I know something's up. I feel crazy, but my gut is screaming at me that this is real and he is getting back at me by putting my toothbrush in the toilet or something else gross. I haven't told anyone because it's honestly humiliating and gross. But I feel trapped between thinking I'm paranoid and realizing I might be with someone who would literally put my toothbrush in the toilet to get back at me. What do I even do? Comments. Commenter 1. Just break up. The fact that he's moody and gives you the silent treatment is enough of a reason. It's immature and exhausting behavior. But if you have this gut feeling about your toothbrush, just trust it and leave. You don't need proof. You don't need a good enough reason. Also, his response is bogus. If my husband asked me if I had tampered with my toothbrush, I'd reassure him, not call him crazy. Then I'd give him a new toothbrush from my stash if he doubted his. His response of calling you crazy is just unkind and doesn't explain your legit concern. Does he gaslight you in other ways? There are so many men out there that you won't have to worry about this with. Just dump him. Reply. I think I already knew I was going to but needed reassurance to get the courage and I've been too embarrassed to talk about it IRL. He's asleep next to me right now and I haven't been able to sleep all night thinking about this dumb shit, so I made a throwaway LOL. I don't know if he gaslights me, but he definitely believes there is a give and take to everything, and if I upset him then in turn he has full rights to retaliate towards me whether he mentions the issue to me or not. He's demeaning and discourages me from attending classes. What I was holding on to our old friendship and feelings, I guess. I could tell he thought me realizing was genuinely funny. Ugh. Commenter 2. He discourages you from attending classes. That's awful. Don't be with someone who holds you back. Also, him retaliating whenever you upset him is troubling. That suggests he wants to hurt you and is just waiting for a reason. Don't be with a guy who hurts you deliberately. You deserve to be treated kindly. Commenter 3. This shouldn't even be a thought in your mind of this being a possibility. And the fact that it is, you're probably right. Reply. Thank you. I felt sure, and then when we talked and he just dismissed me I questioned myself. It's nice to have reassurance. Update. When I wrote that first post, I felt sick, confused, and honestly ashamed. I didn't think anyone would even read it, let alone respond. But I did get responses, a lot of them. And something about that, being seen in a situation I've been quietly drowning in, shifted something in me. I didn't give him another chance because I still couldn't believe what was happening. I gave him one because part of me still wanted him to redeem himself. I wanted him to see how scared I was, how small he'd made me feel, and do something decent for once. After that first night I posted here, I thought maybe if I brought it up again, calmly, and gave him a real opening to be honest, he might finally do the right thing. Instead he doubled down. This time he implied it might be his daughter. An 8-year-old girl. He shrugged and said, kids do weird stuff like that, maybe she's been playing a trick on you. And when I tried to bring up how unsafe and confused I've felt for months, how he used to leave my food out on purpose when he was mad, how he pushed me to drop both work and school, how isolated and anxious I've become, he brushed it all off. Said they were just normal relationship disagreements that could have been worked through if I communicated better. It was so dismissive it actually stunned me. I realized, in that moment, that nothing I said would ever matter to him and never had, so I dropped it. I smiled, I pretended to believe him. I told him it was probably all just in my head. I didn't expect anyone to respond when I reached out. I've been so cut off from everything. But one of them did pretty much immediately, like she was waiting to hear from me again. She told me I could crash on her couch for a few weeks while I find a job back in my home state. Probably bartending or waitressing again, I don't care. I just need it out. She waited for me at a restaurant nearby. All I had to do was text her the second he left to drop his daughter off with her mom. The moment that door closed behind him, I grabbed everything I could carry, just a couple bags, and left all the big stuff behind without even looking back. It took 6 hours to get back home. But I'm here now. I'm safe. My body already feels different. Of course, I've already gotten texts. His daughter's mom. Her family. Asking where I've gone and begging me to come back or saying the kid will miss me, that I was so good with her and they need help. And yeah, I will miss her too. I really will. She didn't ask for any of this. I'm not doing this for anyone else anymore. I'm doing this for me. For the version of me who used to have friends, who used to go out, and had a whole future planned. Thanks to everyone who commented and who reminded me that being scared in your own home isn't normal. Y'all helped me find the nerve to leave. This will be my only update on Reddit probably, but if anything else exciting happens maybe I'll come back to this throwaway account and let y'all know lol. Comments. Commenter 1. Proud of you. Glad you got away safely. Don't respond to any of them and focus on healing. Commenter 2. Heavy on this. It's sad that there is a child involved, but she will be the excuse used to get you to communicate, possibly meet up. Please don't. It's best to block them on everything so you can start healing and move forward with your life. You don't know what he's told them, and unless it impacts your life in a real way, job, housing, etc., it doesn't matter. When breakups happen, especially in situations like this, people tend to become mentally stuck longer because they start hearing inconsistencies or outright lies, the ex is telling. The need to argue your case, tell your side is strong. But someone told me something a long time ago that I initially took the wrong way. But understanding it in context has helped me tremendously. Everyone eventually becomes the villain in someone else's story. You're human. You can be the best human in the world, but you will still be the bad guy in someone's story. It's inevitable. Bum into someone and make them spill their drink. You apologized, but you may still be the villain when they retell it. She told me that because I was so bogged down in my side being hurt after leaving an abusive relationship that it was as if I was still in it. Mentally, I was. Protect your peace and block them. Don't let him or his family friends steal another moment of your peace. Commenter 3. And that girl who helped you. That's amazing. She deserves a hug from every damn person on Reddit. Reply, she is amazing. I couldn't believe how quickly she was down to come so far to get me. Commenter 4. Huge congrats OP to anyone reading this who thinks it's been too long to ask a friend for help. The real ones will show up no matter how long it's been. Stories number 2. My 22F, boyfriend, 22M, keeps letting his friend, 24M, come on our dates. Okay, how we got into this predicament in the first place, is that my boyfriend just really likes his friend, Liam, he's like a brother to him, he saved his life once, etc. But he's on all our dates. I even brought one of my single friends on a date, so we could double, and Liam and her don't date, so that failed. I've honestly asked my BF why Liam is on our dates, and he says that Liam is lonely, has nobody else, and he has no siblings or girlfriend. But then my boyfriend kind of guilts me because, I know this sounds awful, Liam is the fucking package for guilt. His mom died when he was young, then his dad and him don't talk anymore, so Liam just doesn't have anyone else to talk to. I honestly think my boyfriend is guilt tripping me, and I don't think I can do this relationship anymore. If nothing changes I'm leaving. This has gone on for 3 months. Like, sure, I feel bad for Liam, but I don't really know him, and it's not my problem. It's also not just dates, movie nights, he's here. Going to the mall, he's there, where is he not? TLDR, my boyfriend keeps bringing his friend on our dates, and basically guilt trips me into not kicking his friend out. Also, I know this sounds made up, I still can't believe it, but it is very much real. And I basically just need validation that it's okay to break up with my boyfriend over this, the whole post. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Before ending it, you are fully validated on doing so based on your post. Have you put your foot down? Why don't you plan dates and tell him his friend is not invited, period. Reply. I have, but as I said in the post, he always, guilt trips me into letting him come. Saying this out loud, kind of just made me realize he's manipulative. Top comment. Commenter. It's okay to break up. You didn't sign up to be the third wheel in your own relationship. He can spend as much time with Liam as he wants as a single dude. Edit. I called my soon-to-be ex-boyfriend to meet up, and I'm gonna break up with him. I'm gonna tell him the exact reason honestly. I swear if Liam is there though, I'm not considering the possibility of not breaking up with him. It's not even just because of Liam, it's that he manipulates me into letting Liam come. Update. Editor's note, changed the initial X to Xavier for easier reading. Update. I broke up with my ex, I'm gonna call him Xavier. I went to where we agreed to meet up, and guess who he brought with him? You guessed it, Liam. I was very annoyed at this point. I told him I wanted to speak with him privately, and he brings fucking Liam. It's very uncomfortable to break up with someone in front of their best friend, but I was too pissed. I told him, I said I wanted to speak privately. He said, say it in front of Liam. Eventually I just get annoyed and say, that's it. I don't want Liam always here in our private life, on dates, everywhere. He basically said, remember what I told you about Liam's circumstance, blah blah blah. I said something like, I'm sorry, but I don't give a fuck about what Liam's going through right now, this is about me breaking up with you. Meanwhile Liam is just standing there, looking confused. I'll get back to this later. So we basically get into a fight in this park, and it gets to the point where I tell him that he manipulates me into not kicking Liam out of our dates, and about everything he told me Liam went through, like a brother to Xavier, saved Xavier's life, dead mom, dad absent, no siblings, friends, or girlfriend. And then Xavier looks like he got caught or something, and Liam gets angry saying like, what did you tell her? This is all really funny and really awful at the same time. It turns out, none of what Xavier told me was true. Liam has a fiancée, has a real brother and sister, and his mom isn't dead. So, anyway, definitely broke up with Xavier. Like, 40 minutes later, Liam DMs me basically saying that Xavier told Liam that I wasn't comfortable being alone with Xavier, and that he thought I wanted him to be on the dates. Sir, what? He said the reason why he agreed is because his fiancée is living in Europe to finish up her study abroad program, and he had nothing better to do. So Xavier just flat out is a liar. Glad I broke up with him, mad I got lied to, but oh well. This was honestly not a turn of events I was expecting, and I have to get it out somewhere. TLDR, Xavier is a liar and turns out everything he told me about Liam was false just to play a game or something. Stories number 3. Aita for not giving money to my coworker's GoFundMe after secretly finding out that the reason behind her GoFundMe is a lie. Okay, I've heard a lot of crazy shit in here, but what I experienced today is fucking insane. So my coworker, Allison, 28F, recently set up a GoFundMe which has been circulating around the office. The whole thing is about how she's struggling financially since having her baby 3 months ago and needs extra time off because little Ethan has colic and reflux and she's out of paid leave. Everyone's been super sympathetic, but our company's parental leave policy is trash tbh. The fund has already raised like $2,800 and our boss even shared it on LinkedIn, cringe but whatever. I was literally about to transfer some money from my personal account when I overheard something that made me freeze. I was in the bathroom stall yesterday when she came in on her phone, clearly not realizing anyone was there. She was literally laughing about how she's going to use the money for a girl's trip to Canada next month, smiley face. She was like, the baby's totally fine, my mom can watch him. I literally couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm honestly shocked cause like people in our office aren't exactly rolling in cash, and hearing that made me go crazy inside. I haven't said anything to anyone yet, but during the meeting that we had yesterday she said that she'll remember the ones who supported her during these rough times. What a little be asterisk. Aita for not sending a single dollar to her. Should I just expose the shit out of her? Stories number 4. I discovered my wife, 28F, of 7 years is cheating on me, 30M. She doesn't know that I know. TLDR, OP is 30M and married to Emily, 28F. They've been together since high school and have had a great marriage up until now. Emily is a successful hair and makeup artist who owns her own business which mostly caters to weddings. A lot of her success is due to John, 40SM, a wealthy local business owner who has sent her a lot of work and contacts. OP sees a message preview from John to Emily about how incredible the previous night was. Emily had worked late. OP then finds more evidence of other meetings, and discovers expensive jewelry and clothes which he had not purchased and written off as gifts from high-end clients. OP also realizes Emily does not love John but enjoys the lavish gifts and perks he provides. She never replies to John's loving messages, reminds John he should love his wife, and still treats OP as a loving best friend. OP is broken and will file for divorce. Emily is unaware he knows about the affair. Update 1. OP asks Emily CYA questions about their relationship and she admits he has never abused her or cheated on her and she wishes they made love more. They spend Christmas at her parents' house, and a gift arrives for Emily from Santa with a very expensive gold bracelet. Emily is visibly annoyed and tells everyone it is from a bridal client. She later has angry phone call while gesticulating wildly. On New Year's Eve, Emily has to work late to deal with a bridezilla, but promises to be back for their annual kiss at midnight tradition. She arrives at 1:30 a.m. sobbing profusely. OP asks what happened and she says she is just sad because she missed their kiss. I asked her if she had anything else to tell me. She assured me that she didn't. I asked her point blank then if she cheated on me. She swore up and down that she didn't and that she was upset because she missed the countdown because since we have been married we always kissed each other when the clock struck midnight. I gave her every opportunity to come clean and she still lied to me. OP begins searching for attorneys while Emily is still unaware he knows. Update 2. OP finds new communications from Emily warning John OP suspects something. Emily tells John they need to stop and it is not fun anymore, and she doesn't want to lose her marriage. John mentions she should still use the credit card he gave her to hide their activities. Emily also messages her best friend, Bev, who has known of the affair and apparently has supported Emily through it. OP finds a good attorney and his dad helps pay for it. The attorney says the next step is find a PI to get more evidence and the attorney will subpoena the credit card. She also recommends beginning therapy. Emily love bombs OP and talks about starting a family. OP has complicated emotions switching between anger, disgust and missing wanting her. But overall he is miserable. Emily now suspects he knows something. Update 3. OP hires a PI who then follows John. On Valentine's Day, John leaves flowers and a card at Emily's business. Emily throws them in the dumpster and the PI retrieves them. The card has graphic details of their affair, e.g. John trying to win her back by describing his favorite parts of her body and what he does with them. The PI later sees Emily meet with John in a parking lot and seemingly end the affair. Emily will be served soon. OP begins love bombing her to show her what she will lose. OP has determined he is completely ghosting her once she is served. Update 4. TLDR, Emily is served at her business and she freaks out. OP sends a letter to family and friends describing her affair and includes John's graphic letter. He then messages Bev's husband and lets him know that Bev supported the affair. OP leaves a note to Emily, lawyer contact info, and photos of her affair, then leaves the house before Emily arrives. Emily messages him over and over saying they were supposed to get through this and she loves him. He ghosts her. Emily now knows he knows. This is major event so OP's post is included here. I left Emily. We got the divorce papers, summons, petition, standing orders, etc. The PI, acting in his capacity as a process server, wore a body cam for obvious professional reasons and I was able to look at the footage when he came by my hotel room later on in the afternoon. The PI walked up to Emily who was sitting at her station and chatting with the other stylists who work for her. He showed her a manila envelope and told her he had legal documents for her and she had been served. Emily of course looked shocked and confused and just stared at him, gobsmacked. The PI clarified that the envelope contained legal documents regarding a divorce case filed against her and he told her she should review them and contact her attorney. Then he dropped the documents at her feet with a satisfying slap as they hit the ground since she refused to take them and told her she's still been served. He then told her to have a nice day and walked out. Morgan Freeman narrator voice, Emily didn't have a nice day. I could hear her hyperventilating as the PI left and saying, "What? What is this? Really, Emily? You're actually surprised?" I was at home and after the PI called and said he was heading in to serve her, I called Emily's dad. Since my mom died, I had, probably unwisely, been treating her mom, my MIL, like a mother. I just couldn't talk to her. I told Emily's dad about the divorce. I tried to keep it very simple and quick. Emily cheated on me. We're getting a divorce. I'll send you an email shortly with evidence of the affair. I stressed that Emily was being served divorce papers today, so she would absolutely need their support and they should head over to our house immediately. Emily's dad acknowledged that and said that he hoped we could find a way through this and it would be a shame to break up our family. I guess Emily's mom was nearby and overheard because she took the phone from him, put it on speaker, and asked if this is true. I explained to her about the cheating and the email with the evidence they'll receive. She started crying and apologizing to me. Since this thing started she was the first person close to me who apologized to me. I was reminded of my mother, who always would comfort me when I was down, and I just broke, y'all. I started tearing up and croaked out, "I have to go," and hung up on her while she was saying, "No wait." I had packed up my work laptops and got a lot of my clothes in 2 large suitcases. On the advice of my attorney, I took down the cameras in the bathrooms and bedrooms when I left, but the cameras in the common areas can remain because my dad is the owner of the house. I packed the cameras up in my suitcases too. My lawyer sent the subpoena to the credit card company on Monday when I pulled the trigger on my marriage. I wrote an email to Emily's dad and sister and to some mutual friends who know both of us, including Bev's husband. It said, "I never thought I'd be writing this, but after everything that's happened, I don't see another choice. I wanted you to hear it from me directly so that there's no confusion or misinformation. Emily has been having an affair with a man named John, last name. I have evidence, emails, financial records, and an investigation that confirms it. I think we all know that her bracelet gift from Santa was not from a client, because the client would have identified themselves by name and clients don't know her parents' address. She's been meeting John and hiding it from me for months. I know this is painful to hear, and trust me, it's even more painful to write. But I didn't want you to be blindsided by all of this later. I'm attaching a few things to this email that make it clear what's been going on and to head off any of your concerns about the truth of my statements. I know this is shocking, and I don't expect you to take sides. I just want you to have the truth. I love Emily, but she's broken our marriage beyond repair, and I have no choice but to move forward with a divorce. FIL's name, MIL's name, SIL's name, SIL's hubby, thank you for being like a second family to me. I will miss all of you. I wrote a similar email to John's wife and gave her my attorney's name and number if she wanted to go see the physical evidence herself. It would have to be in my lawyer's office. Personally, I think my lawyer is going to try to get John's wife to give her a retainer. I also sent a group text for them to check their emails. Then I blocked Emily's family. To the email I attached a photo of John and Emily kissing goodbye in the hotel parking lot and a photo of the contents of John's Valentine's Day card to Emily. It was explicit. Finally, I had a link to the recording of Emily saying that I didn't abuse or cheat on her. I just wanted to head that bullshit off ahead of time. OP then goes into details on the letter to Bev's husband. I then left my wedding ring, a printed copy of the same photo of Emily and John at the hotel parking lot kissing, my lawyer's business card, and a note, "Thanks for your help on this, guys." The note said, "I hope your affair with John was worth our marriage. We are getting a divorce. Contact my lawyer if you have any questions or need to get in touch for arrangements regarding the divorce. Otherwise, get a lawyer and let's get this over with. If you're truly remorseful, then do me the courtesy of giving me the easiest, most generous divorce possible. I loved you and I could have forgiven almost anything, except abject betrayal. I would have loved you for the rest of my life." On my way out, I got a call from Emily that I ignored. I put my phone on silent and dropped by the bank. I took out half our money from the various accounts we have. Checking, emergency, vacation fund. I have already frozen my credit. When I got to the hotel, I canceled our shared credit cards. I made arrangements to freeze our joint investment accounts so that she couldn't withdraw money from them. They're in my name. Adultery subreddit pro tip: people, if you cheat, make financial arrangements ahead of time in case you get caught. I then got a text from her. I left her on read because my lawyer told me that if she confesses to the affair over text, we can use that as more evidence for the divorce. I'm responding to her texts here only because it's therapeutic to me. Messing with the language writing of her texts because I'm paranoid. Note, OP clarified that Emily used normal language in her texts and he only changed it to shorthand here to avoid her searching for her comments online and finding this post. This is the condensed version of the past 12 hours or so. WTF is this? I'm divorcing you. Answer your phone. We need to talk right now. Nope. I have had enough gaslighting for a lifetime, thank you very much. This was followed up by a lot of texts demanding I call her or answer her calls. No thanks. Then the texts changed. So I presumed she got home, and read the note and saw what I left. I don't know what you think you know, but I can EXP everything. It's not what you think. You're right, Emily. I'm a stupid idiot who'll believe anything you say. Divorce? We love each other. We're supposed to work through this mistake. Mistake? Oops, my wet hoo-ha fell onto John's erect wee-wee. Repeatedly. For almost a year. Oopsie. Look, I know I fucked up. But don't do this. Don't leave like this. Finally, an acknowledgement of the affair over text. Zing. Write to my lawyer. I never stopped loving you. I never loved him. Another gift from Emily. Zing. Write to my lawyer. Then, the tone changed later. You are overreacting. You are acting like I never loved you, like I wasn't trying to fix things, but you wouldn't let me. Fix things. Okay. Build a time machine, Emily. Build a goddamn time machine. Are you just going to ghost your own wife? Consults Magic 8 Ball, all signs point to yes. Then, her parents showed up at the house. Hoo boy, what the fuck did you do? And then, you had no right to involve my fam like this. Then followed by, are you trying to humiliate me? Are you trying to ruin my life? Do you hate me that much now? Kinda. It's complicated. After that comes a barrage of phone calls that I didn't answer. How could you do this? How could you try to turn my own fam against me? I'm trying to have them not turn against me, and then, I told you I never loved him. I never loved him. No one cares, honey. Least of all John. I know you love me. I love you too. We can fix this. We can fix everything, and then, just tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this. I'll do it. Let me get this straight. You wiped your ass with our marriage vows and stabbed me in the back, and now you want me to tell you how to fix this shit? I had to go to Walmart because I forgot to pack underwear, and I don't have a rich sugar daddy to buy me some fancy skivvies from Saks Fifth Avenue. You never loved me if you can do this to me. Fuck this shit. I am going to have to block her instead of leaving her on red. I don't think I can take this, man. So this is how a marriage ends. No fanfare, no heroic deeds, just whining, crying, anger, and depression. Just like any other divorce, really. Only this is my divorce and it feels like the end of the fucking world. But in reality this is all just beginning. I feel this whole process is going to take years. I hope not. My lawyer assures me that, with the evidence we have, it'll go relatively quick. Meanwhile I'm thinking, what? Relatively quick? Relative to what? Continental drift? At this point, I just want to thank you beautiful men and women who supported and encouraged me. I'd vacuum out all your cars if I could, and clean your bathrooms. I just want a falling anvil to hit me in the head and cause amnesia like a cartoon character or a Hallmark Channel movie. I know this is tonally all over the place. I keep second-guessing myself if I did the right thing. I just changed my life today in a fundamental way. I'm wondering if it's a lateral move. I feel like I've moved from a warm cesspool to a cold gray rocky place. Is it an improvement? I feel like I have these scars now, and the one who gave them to me is the one person in the world I trusted the most. I will never forgive her. Now I have to buck up and walk it off like a real man because feelings and tears are weak and a turn off. I just want my mom. Update 5. Emily sends an email describing the affair. She says John saved her business, then began pressuring her until she gave in. It was supposed to be once, but he kept pushing for more and called her ungrateful when she tried to stop. She never loved him and always loved OP and hoped their relationship would survive this. Her family has also told her she messed up and understand why OP is divorcing her. OP can't believe she is acting like a victim and doing trickle truth without mentioning how fun she said it was and the credit card that bought her lots of expensive things. He just wants the divorce to be finished. OP is still ghosting Emily. She has not seen or spoke with him since he said goodbye and left for work the day she was served. Update 6. OP is staying at a friend's rental. His friends take him out and play D&D. He tries to forget about life for a while. OP's lawyer says John's wife, Lisa, contacted her. They will work together on aligning evidence for their respective divorces. Update 7. OP meets with John's wife, Lisa. They share timelines and evidence. On New Year's, John was vacationing with Lisa and their 3 kids, then he flew home early. Lisa found video of Emily going to their house with John that night. OP meets with his MIL. He has a very close relationship with her, especially after his mother passed. She brings him groceries and homemade meals and tells him he needs to eat more. The MIL asks if reconciliation is possible, and OP says the man Emily married is dead and the man who is left would treat her horribly. MIL says Emily is staying with them and spends all day crying in her room and only comes out to get water. OP suggests MIL gets her in therapy. Update 8. Bev, credit card records, and infidelity dodgeball. Bev deleted all social media and OP has no idea what is going on with her. The lawyer received the credit card records of the card John gave Emily. She spent $30,000 over 9 months, including hotel dates, gifts, and even items she bought for OP. She also spent $175 at a sex superstore for John. There is a gag order, so Emily's lawyer doesn't know they have the records. The credit card records infuriate and break OP, who calls Emily a whore with a wealthy John. Any remaining love for Emily is gone. Emily's lawyer has reached out to set up a meeting between both groups. OP can ask one question beforehand to get a full answer. OP asks to describe what really happened on NYE. Update 9. Lawyers. OP and his lawyer meet with Emily, MIL, and their lawyer. OP has anxiety and takes a pill which makes him happy and float during the meeting. Emily's lawyer offers terms which asks OP to try reconciliation for 9 months and then gets generous terms if they still divorce afterward. OP's lawyers say they will review it. Emily also provides a written answer about what happened on NYE. OP's lawyer brings up the credit card charges. Emily's party is shocked. Her lawyer stammers and was obviously unaware of the card. Mil shakes her head, especially at the sex store entry. Emily freaks out and nearly runs away. OP's medicine reacts and he throws up. He then offers Emily his terms, which has been updated to include his fresh puke. Discussions end. Emily's lawyer drops her as a client since he was a family friend doing a favor and didn't appreciate the lies from her. Emily's written answer about NYE states that she was actually working late with a bridezilla, then John met her and he drove her to his house so he could call his family, which he had just ditched on vacation. They then had unsatisfying sex and John did a power play to keep Emily after midnight so she missed her kiss with OP. Here is OP's description of the events of the day. So we had the negotiation today around 10 a.m. Emily as expected looked well put together but tired. She had her hair up in a carefully crafted blonde ponytail and was wearing a very short black dress with a suit jacket. Emily looked at me with a pained expression and doing her fake smile. She was shaking slightly the whole time and taking these deep breaths periodically. She didn't say anything but she sure looked like she wanted to. Emily's mom was dressed in a nice sundress and she had done her makeup and hair, or Emily had done it. She smiled at me genuinely and reached for me but then held back like she realized I was the enemy today. I gave her a little smile and wave. They proceed to review about Emily's proposal and other general questions to OP. OP is floaty throughout. My lawyer then pulled out a folder of the credit card records and put it on the table and told Emily's side that we know she had a Visa Infinite card in her name that was billed to John's wedding venue business. Emily immediately tensed up and froze, wild-eyed. Emily's mom's head snapped to stare at her. Emily's lawyer cleared his throat loudly and blinked like 700 times. My lawyer started reading off hotel charges and dates and asking why those charges and dates coincided with meetings with John in her appointment book. Emily started shaking and stammering. Her lawyer instructed her to be silent. He said that they were not aware of any credit card and that they were not notified of this evidence. My lawyer told them that they were notified now and handed him another folder with copies of the credit card records. My lawyer then talked about the charges in December that included the toy store and asked if she bought me and her family Christmas gifts with the card. Emily was breathing heavy and had a nice flop sweat forming. Not a good look, Emily. Not a good look at all. Her mom said what? And Emily's lawyer cleared his throat like a magician's assistant who knows the trick is about to fail. My lawyer then asked if Emily recognized the clothes I was wearing and could she point out in the card records which charges coincided with them. Emily stood up and looked like she was about to bolt. Her lawyer looked annoyed. My lawyer then asked Emily about the $175 charge at the local name, Sex Superstore, and Emily's lawyer sighed heavily and said that he felt that the meeting has stopped being productive. Simultaneously, Emily's mom looked down at the floor, said, "Oh God," and got up and left the room, her hand over her mouth. Knowing my MIL, the "oh God" was more of a prayer than an expletive. God, sorry, I can't answer my phone right now. But if you leave your name, number, and a brief message. At the same time the Sex Superstore was mentioned, Emily started going crazy and saying she can explain. It's not what I think. Emily's shame has entered the chat. Floaty me just sat there like an ape researcher watching monkeys throw their shit at each other like yep this is happening. How many eggs do I have left at home? Forgot to count this morning. So I had taken the Klonopin an hour before the meeting on an empty stomach and my stomach was now filing for divorce too. I hurried over to the small trash can, picked it up, and vomited into it. Not much came out other than the expensive bottled lawyer water I had drank earlier. Afterwards, I sat down casually like nah I didn't just vomit into a trash can, you're seeing things while Emily was asking if I was sick and if I was okay. I ignored her. Emily started sobbing and apologizing and asked to speak with me privately while her lawyer comforted her awkwardly while shushing her and herding her out of the room, taking the folder and a copy of our offer that my lawyer launched at him as he was gathering his stuff. His face was the color of a tomato, Floaty me observed. I was still sitting there after the door shut and my lawyer grabbed Emily's business records and told me that she was right, it would be a short meeting. Floaty me looked at my lawyer silently for a bit, and pointed at the vomit trash can. Can we make that part of our offer too? For the first time since I met her, my lawyer started really laughing hard. Like stomach-holding laughter. She said she'll mention it. As to what Emily said happened on New Year's Eve, it was something I couldn't have guessed. Emily said she actually did go to the Bridezilla's get-together in order to make an appearance, she was invited but not required to be there like she told me. She met John there because it was John who introduced her to the Bridezilla and got her that gig. John had a business relationship with Bridezilla's dad and was invited as well. John and Emily left the venue separately but met in the parking lot, and John gave Emily a ride to the hotel because she had been drinking. Instead of going to the hotel, though, John insisted they go to his home instead, despite her protests. She didn't want to antagonize him, so she went along with it but complained the whole time about getting out of there by 11:30. They went to his place, he FaceTimed his wife, they had very unsatisfying sex in his marital bed, her words, and she drove him back to the venue where the NYE Bridezilla family get-together was, which was empty by that time. She drove home, having sobered up some. Nauseating. But it's what I needed to hear. I had assumed they went to the hotel, had sex, and then again at his place. Turns out, they skipped the hotel entirely. He drove her straight to his house under the guise of needing to FaceTime his wife at midnight, and to defile their marital bed. Romantic, right? At least she didn't enjoy herself, though, right? Right? That makes all the difference. Update 10, Emily's backyard cookout. OP is notified of a fire at his old house. He rushes there to find Emily in the backyard burning all of her expensive gifts from John. He startles her as he puts out the fire. She gives him a hug and won't let go. It's the first time they have been alone since he ghosted her. Her parents arrive and then the cops. They all scold her for the fire, but she seems happy just to see OP. Everyone leaves and OP donates the remaining items and changes the locks. Emily has started an apology tour and has told all friends and family the full details of her affair. She also has a new lawyer. Update 11, Bev's husband and postnuptial agreement. OP meets with Bev's husband. Bev admitted to living vicariously through Emily's affair and asked for forgiveness from her husband. She cut all contact with Emily. He and Bev are working through things, but he came close to leaving her and their relationship is strained. OP created his final terms for the divorce. One non-negotiable item is that it is an at-fault divorce and Emily's infidelity is a matter of public record. Any person who looks her up online will see that her marriage ended due to her affair. The PI said most of his job is researching new boyfriends, girlfriends of upper-class people, and this type of thing ends those relationships fast. Lisa's divorce is going through and she will likely do very well, especially after Emily provided an affidavit of the entire affair. John is miserable, alone, and his kids want nothing to do with him. OP plans to write a letter to Emily explaining how reconciliation is impossible in order to reduce the lawyer back and forths and go straight to final negotiations. Update 12. Letters to Emily. OP is trying to write a letter to Emily to explain how reconciliation is impossible. He goes through many variations before finding one and sending it to her. The letter states the definition of love and how she went against it time and time again. He describes how she brought another man into their relationship and continued to kiss and make love with OP even immediately after doing the same with John. What she did wasn't just betrayal, it was defilement, it was degrading. She killed the version of OP she loved and is now trying to bargain with his ghost. It is over and they need to both move on. She receives the letter and cries uncontrollably, according to MIL. The following is the final letter he sent and the outcome. I'm pretty sure I'm sending this one. Emily, my attorney advised me to write down why reconciliation isn't possible. I've put it off not because I'm unsure, but because it's difficult to describe what you've done to me in a way that might actually register with you. But I'll try now, with as much clarity and control as I can manage. Let's begin with something simple, a definition. Love, noun, a commitment to another person's well-being, trust, and dignity above your own convenience, indulgence, and self-gratification. It includes honesty, protection, loyalty, and the refusal to willfully inflict harm, especially on someone who loves you. Now let's examine the evidence. For nearly a year, you conducted a sexual relationship behind my back. You didn't confess because you were overwhelmed by guilt. You confessed because you got caught. Even then, your story changed over and over until the facts cornered you. First it was an emotional affair. Then a mentorship. Then coercion. Then, he wouldn't let me go. You were never honest. You were just reactive. When I confronted you on New Year's Eve, you couldn't even tell me the truth then. I knew the truth and you still tried to make me feel guilty and paranoid. And here's something I need to say directly, because you've danced around it in every version you've given. You performed oral sex on another man and then came home and kissed me right afterwards. Do you understand what that did to me? Because I think you need to. That wasn't just betrayal. That was defilement. That was degrading. That was a level of violation I didn't know was possible inside a marriage. You brought the taste of another man's body into our home and into my fucking mouth. You let him into my bed by proxy and into my mouth, without my knowledge or consent. There is no therapy, no contract, no prayer that can erase that. I don't think my words can adequately communicate to you how disgusted and sickened I am by this. Remember how you noticed I was losing weight towards the end of our time together? Remember how you were admiring how defined my muscles were? That wasn't working out, that was starvation and dehydration. That was not being able to keep food or water down because I thought about it all the time and it made me throw up. And then you want to tell me you love me. You want to reconcile. You want to go back to what we were. Here's the problem, Emily. That man no longer exists. The man who loved you, trusted you, and thought you were incapable of something like this is just fucking gone. You killed him. Slowly. Repeatedly. And with a smile on your face. And the person asking for reconciliation now? You're not talking to the same husband. You're talking to someone else. You're talking to someone who will never again see you the way he once did. Someone who wakes up sick when he remembers how deep the lies went. Someone who has to remind himself to breathe when he thinks about where your mouth was before you kissed him. You say you want to earn back my trust. That's not something you can earn back from a ghost, so I'll give you the only thing that's left, truth. You are not owed reconciliation. You are not owed negotiation. You are not even owed the benefit of the doubt. You are owed fairness, and I've already extended more of that than your actions warrant. If you have any respect left for me, if you have any genuine remorse, you'll stop prolonging this shitshow. I am going to send you my best offer. Do you want to convince me of your remorse? Then tack on some more terms that are favorable to me and have no possible benefit to you. Put your money where your mouth is. Own what you did. Accept the consequences without twisting this into something mutual or negotiable. You didn't just cheat. You desecrated something sacred. You dismantled a man and burned the wreckage. And now you want to bargain with the ashes. Don't let this end with whatever grace is still possible. Go and find someone you love and respect and I will do the same. Stories number 5. Aita for kicking my wife's best friend out of our house after she joked about naming our baby after me because she's always loved me. I, 28M, have been with my wife, 27F, for 5 years, married for 2. She's currently 6 months pregnant with our first child, and we've been over the moon about it. Everything was going great, until last night. Her best friend, Lena, 26F, who's been around since they were kids and was even the maid of honor at our wedding, came over for dinner. Halfway through the evening, she got a little tipsy and started going on about how lucky my wife is to have me. I brushed it off. She's always been a little flirty in a weird, joking, kind of way. I even remember one time she slept over at our place and was walking around wearing something like this. Maybe it's normal, but I don't know. I felt uncomfortable. But then she said something that made my blood run cold. She looked at my wife's belly, smiled, and said, "If you two weren't together, I would have totally made a baby with him. Honestly, you should name the baby after him twice. One for you, one for me." She laughed, like it was a joke. My wife looked uncomfortable but tried to laugh it off. I wasn't laughing. I told her she was out of line and that she needed to leave. She tried to play it off as just messing around, but I told her she wasn't welcome in our home anymore. Now my wife is mad at me because she says Lena was just joking and didn't mean it. She says she's under a lot of stress and doesn't want to lose her best friend over something, taken out of context. I told her I'm not letting anyone who sexualizes me or disrespects our relationship around my child, especially not someone who clearly has some weird obsession with me. Her family is now involved in saying I overreacted and that Lena was obviously joking. But I don't think it's a joke when someone implies they wish they had your life, your partner, and a child with them. Stories number 6. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my sister-in-law stay at my house because she's a vegan with a peanut allergy? So, I, 28F, live in a small but cozy 2-bedroom apartment in a city where rent is sky high. I've always loved having friends and family over, but it's usually limited to a weekend or a quick visit. Long-term stays are pretty much off the table. My husband, 29M, and I agreed that we'd keep things simple and comfortable, which brings us to the current dilemma. My sister-in-law, Mara, 26F, is coming into town for a conference next week. She lives about 5 hours away, and while we don't exactly dislike each other, we're not super close. We've always had a bit of a tension between us. She's very particular. She's vegan, which I totally respect, but she's also severely allergic to peanuts, which, no big deal, but she literally asks for separate pans and plates for every meal she eats. That's fine when it's a visit over lunch or dinner, but she's requested that I cook and serve every meal this way during her stay. Here's the kicker, she also requires that my entire apartment be peanut-free and vegan-friendly for her visit. She said she's highly sensitive, so I should remove anything with peanut oil, peanut butter, or any trace of non-vegan foods in the kitchen. And no, she won't be eating out, because, in her words, restaurants can't guarantee no cross-contamination. I work full-time and have a pretty hectic schedule, so I've asked her multiple times if she could just stay in a nearby Airbnb or a hotel. But she insists that since my place is so much more comfortable and homey, she'll just sleep on the couch and make herself at home. My husband is neutral, saying it's up to me, but he has mentioned that she's family and maybe I should be more accommodating. I love my sister-in-law, but I don't think it's realistic to cater to every single one of her dietary restrictions in my tiny apartment. Plus, I just don't think I should have to turn my life upside down to accommodate one person for a week. I'm honestly starting to feel resentful that she thinks I should do all of this when she could easily stay at a hotel, but maybe I'm being too harsh. So, am I the jerk for refusing to let her stay? Stories number 7. Aita for yelling at my wife when she didn't back me up after a friend almost pushed me into a pool. I, 34M, have never been a strong swimmer. I can tread water if needed, but I generally avoid swimming when possible. This is something my wife Anna, 32F, knows and has always respected. Last weekend, we were at a barbecue at our friends Dave and Sarah's house. They have a nice backyard pool and most people were planning to swim. I politely declined when everyone started changing into swimwear, saying I'd just hang out poolside. My wife went swimming with the others while I enjoyed watching from a safe distance. After about an hour, my friend Dave started insisting I join them. I kept saying no, explaining I wasn't comfortable swimming. He laughed it off and said, "Come on, don't be boring." I continued to refuse, getting increasingly uncomfortable with his pressuring. Things escalated when Dave started approaching me with this mischievous grin, saying, "Sometimes you just need a little push." He actually grabbed my arm and started pulling me toward the pool. I panicked and pulled away, nearly falling in the process. I was genuinely frightened and shouted for him to stop. What upset me most was that my wife was right there watching this happen and said nothing. She was laughing along with everyone else like it was just a joke. I felt completely betrayed that she didn't step in when she knows how uncomfortable I am with swimming. After we got home, I confronted her. I'll admit I raised my voice significantly. I said something like, "How could you just stand there while Dave was trying to force me into the pool? You know I hate swimming. You're supposed to have my back." She got defensive and said I was overreacting and that Dave was just having fun. This made me even angrier and I ended up sleeping on the couch. The next day, she told me I embarrassed her by making a scene and then yelling at her afterward. Now she's saying I should apologize to her and to Dave for ruining the vibe at the party. I don't think I'm wrong for expecting my wife to stand up for me, but maybe I shouldn't have yelled. So, Aita. Top comments. Commenter 1. So if she didn't swim and someone tried to throw her in and you stood there laughing, she should apologize to you and the person trying to throw her in. Sound right if you switch it up. Commenter 2. Yes, and if someone is holding her head underwater as a joke, remember not to intervene and ruin the vibe. Commenter 3. Your wife and Dave are ridiculous little punks. Commenter 4. Sounds like none of them left middle school. Update. It's been a few days since my original post, and I wanted to give an update on the situation with my wife and Dave. First, I want to thank everyone for their comments and insights. I'm sorry I don't have time to respond to each comment. I also appreciate the Redditors saying that I'm weak or should start standing up for myself. Not gonna lie, maybe there's some truth in that. However, reading the different perspectives helped me reflect on the situation more clearly. After taking some time to cool down, I decided to have a proper conversation with my wife. We sat down after dinner and I made sure to approach the topic calmly. I started by apologizing for yelling at her. I explained that while I was hurt by her not stepping in, my reaction wasn't constructive and I shouldn't have raised my voice. Anna listened and then opened up. She admitted she hadn't realized how genuinely frightened I was in the moment. She thought I was just being stubborn about swimming and that Dave was trying to lighten the mood. She said she could see now how his actions crossed a line, and she apologized for not supporting me when I needed her. We had a deeper conversation about boundaries and how important it is to back each other up in social situations. She promised to be more attentive to situations that make me uncomfortable, and I promised to communicate my feelings before they escalate to shouting. It was actually a really productive conversation that brought us closer. As for Dave, he called me the other day. I thought he might be calling to apologize, but that's not what happened. Instead, he asked why I was being so weird about the pool incident and said everyone was just trying to have fun. When I tried explaining how his actions made me feel unsafe, he dismissed it and said I needed to lighten up and learn to take a joke. I kept my cool and told him firmly that trying to force someone into water when they've repeatedly said no isn't a joke, it's disrespectful and potentially dangerous. He scoffed and changed the subject to some upcoming basketball game. My wife and I have decided to take a break from hanging out with Dave for a while. Anna completely supports this decision now that she understands how serious this was for me. We're planning to spend more time with friends who respect boundaries instead. I'm relieved that my wife and I are on the same page now, even if Dave still doesn't get it. Sometimes you realize which relationships are worth putting the work into, and which ones might need to be reconsidered. Top comment. Commenter, well done on actually talking with your wife about it. But Dave, fuck Dave. Stories number 8. I got laid off. I am devastated. I loved my job so much. I loved my boss. I worked there for a little over 2 years and I truly thought this was my career for life. I thought I was set and would never have to go through another interview again. But here I am, back to the start. I'll never find another company like that, but clearly I wasn't that special if I was one of the ones to go. I'm just really sad and hurt. Feeling a lot of emotions. I've never experienced a layoff, just had to vent. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm assuming you're on the younger side. Never assume your job will be the last you'll ever have. Markets change. Employment changes. Companies rise and fall. Just think of yourself as your own boss, who is an independent contractor. You go to where you are best treated. Be sad. Vent. But don't be defeated. You'll see. When you're somewhere better, you'll look back and wonder why you ever cared so much about the old job. I've been there. You got this. Reply, I'm 30. Just never experienced this. But God, is it a lesson learned to realize I'm expendable? The worst thing they could have told me was tell me I'd have a long career with them. Immediately after the news I updated my resume and have been applying to jobs. I know something is out there for me, and maybe better pay, and this was maybe just meant to happen. Still gonna take today to cry though, lol. Back to applying on Monday. Commenter 2. I have been laid off twice in my career. In each case I felt horrible and went through few months without a job. However, in each case it worked out for the better than what I was doing before. Everything from more money, better title, shorter commute, etc. It sucked in the short term, but each time I ended up in a better place. Wish you luck. Update. Posted on Friday. I got laid off. Have my first interview tomorrow. Firstly, wanted to thank everyone who left me so much wisdom on my previous post. I was absolutely devastated. I let myself be sad, still put in some work applying over the weekend, and spoke with a recruiter today. I have an interview for tomorrow. I was referred, and from the job description alone, I feel very qualified. I know I could do this and would love to be a part of this new company. Feeling optimistic, but not going to get my hopes up. Please send me some good luck that I ace this interview. Comments. Commenter. Advice. Mention the layoff and move on, do not linger on it or talk about anything. Just say, I was laid off due to restructuring of the department, I'm thankful for my time there, I learned a lot. Update. Got laid off 7 days ago. Today, I accepted a job offer. Last week, I was devastated. I lost an amazing job and expected to go through at least months of job searching. But I immediately put in work, applied to so many jobs and reached out to recruiters associated with the job when their emails were available. One of them reached back out. She thought my experience was perfect for the job and we scheduled a screening call. She felt I was a great fit, submitted me onto the hiring team. I don't hear back for a couple of days, until this morning, she asks if I'm available to interview this afternoon. Come to find out, they could only submit one more candidate to interview, and they decided to choose me. The director had interviews all week, and I was the very last interview. We hit it off so well. The interview lasted over an hour and I felt like I was just talking to a colleague. My experience aligned with everything she was wanting. At the end of the call, she told me she had a really tough decision to make because she had a lot of great candidates and conversations over the week, but I'd hear back either today or Monday. I was so nervous after ending the meeting because I loved this woman and really wanted her to be my boss. We just aligned so well. A little over an hour later, my recruiter texts me, "You were amazing," then the call comes in. They're extending the offer to me. I just cannot believe it. I'm still riding out this high. It's an incredible company with such a great mission. And a pay increase from the job I got laid off from. Here's hoping that this happens to everyone else who's getting laid off recently. You are so worthy of getting hired, and getting paid more. You never know how quick things can turn around. ETA, I work in the recruiting industry as a recruiting coordinator and it's what I've done exclusively for 4 years now. Basically, I'm behind the scenes organizing the data on candidates in the tracking systems and where they're at in the pipeline, making sure we're getting feedback, supporting the recruiters, scheduling interviews, and initiating the onboarding process. It's a lot of communication with candidates which I feel very passionate about, having been on that side many times. In my experience in this field, it's usually been 1 to 2 interviews. Comments. Commenter 1. Bruh, I've been trying for a month and haven't gotten anything. Commenter 2. I've been trying for 6 so I feel ya. Commenter 3. I hope you get something soon. Been 2 months for me and feeling super down. I had an interview today and upon reflection, really did not like my answer to one question and am hoping I didn't flub the interview. Reply. A lot of interviewers don't want you to be perfect. Relax your shoulders and don't think you have to give the answers they want to hear. Recently I gave an answer that I felt was absolutely horrible. I was kicking myself after the interview ended, but I still got moved forward to the final interview. I truly think confidence is key. You got this. Commenter 4. Thank you so much for the encouragement. I've been interviewing with more and more corporate places due to those jobs having higher salaries. So I've been feeling this pressure to sound corporate. It's just not my personality, so I just feel weirdly awkward about my interviews lately. But you're right that confidence counts for a lot. Thank you. OP, just be yourself. Trust me, they don't want you to sound corporate. Be confident in your ability and your experience. Do your research on the role and the company, be friendly, and you're gonna do great. Stories number 9. Aita for refusing to let my daughter's fiancé stay in our guest room because I use it for my hobby. So I, am 49, might be in the wrong here, but I honestly don't think I am, and would love to hear outside perspectives. My daughter, 23F, got engaged recently and came to visit us with her fiancé, 24M. We live a few states away, so I get that traveling is tiring, but we were happy to host, for the weekend. Now, I've had my guest room set up for my miniature wargaming for the past few years. It's my space, where I go to decompress after work, and it's honestly the only spot in the house that's fully mine. My wife has the sunroom, and the rest of the house is kind of communal. I've got thousands of dollars of models in there, custom terrain, a 3D printer setup, etc. It's not just a hobby, it's an investment, and frankly, a form of art. Anyway, when they arrived, I had the office couch made up for them, pull-out, memory foam, decent blanket, very clean. My daughter seemed fine with it, but her fiancé kind of made a face and later asked why they couldn't just sleep in the guest room. I told him plainly it wasn't available because it's not a guest room anymore. It's my studio. Later that night, my daughter confronted me privately and said I was being selfish and ridiculous and that it's just for 2 nights. She said they felt unwelcome and like I was prioritizing plastic figurines over family. I told her that's not fair, they have a place to sleep. It's not like I made them sleep on the floor. Now my wife is giving me the cold shoulder and said I could have just packed it up for a weekend, but again, it's not like these are toys you throw in a box. Some of them are fragile. Some are half-painted. I don't want to spend days reorganizing and then undoing all that work just because they didn't like the setup. They left a day early, and now I'm getting texts from my daughter about how I chose my hobby over her happiness, which just seems dramatic to me. I might be the asshole because maybe I could have moved some stuff around for a few nights, but I really don't think it's fair to expect me to dismantle my entire setup just because someone didn't want to sleep on a perfectly good pull-out. I have a right to my space too, right? Stories number 10. How do I, 24F, come clean to my, 25M, boyfriend of 2 years about a lie I've kept going since 8th grade? I'm aware this is a terrible thing to do and I will live with the guilt of it my whole life and cannot apologize enough to those affected by this. When I was starting 8th grade I went into a completely new school district due to bullying at my old school. I still had one friend from my old school who I texted daily. We'll call her Molly. Molly and I had this idea to see how long I could convince the students at this school that I was colorblind. I am not, and we decided it would be easiest for me to pretend to see in just black and white, which I'm pretty certain is not a thing, so I wouldn't get stumped if people tested me. Unfortunately for me I was quite convincing and nobody ever called me out if they doubted me. I went on to fall out of contact with Molly because she stabbed me in the back and was then worried everyone would hate me when I came clean alone without her to defend that we had come up with it together. At this point I had made a whole new friend group who believed me and the entire school that knew me also knew that I was colorblind. Fast forward to meeting my now boyfriend, nothing special, just lucky on a dating app. He was everything I was looking for and I couldn't have been more happy and I still am. We have never fought in the 2 years we've been together apart from silly debates about SpongeBob plots and what kinds of food is better. I love him more than anything and I want to spend my life with him. However, I don't believe I deserve to have that. When we started getting serious he met my best friend since high school. And in them meeting my color vision came up and rather than come clean to my best friend I decided to lie to my boyfriend and I feel terrible to this day. My issue is I don't believe I can continue to go forward when there is this low hanging over the whole relationship for no reason. I feel I have done the equivalent to cheating on him by lying for our entire relationship. I know I have to come clean and I am going to and hope for the best. I suppose I simply would like advice on how to best go about it. His family also believes I am colorblind. Feel free to rip me a new one in the comments. I deserve it for faking a disability and I take full responsibility and will not claim I was a child and didn't understand. I knew I was wrong. I regret it. Edit. Those telling me to add to the lie are not helping. I know some are jokes. My issue isn't I'm scared he'll figure it out. I want him to know. I simply want a smart way of going about telling him. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my mom how betrayed I feel that she loves my bullies as much as she loves me. I, 16M, have been bullied for years by Eva, 18, and Ben, 16. My mom was best friends with their dad Seth since elementary school. So I grew up knowing them and their dad. When I was 7 they started bullying me because their mom didn't like mine. It started with calling me names and went into excluding me and even telling everyone at school embarrassing things that they knew from being around me so much. My mom knew about it and she told their dad and he talked to them. But whatever talk didn't fix anything. Then their parents divorced, their mom died and my mom and their dad started dating. All of that made them hate me more and the bullying got worse. I lost friends because they targeted them to get them away from me. They even started shoving me and stuff like that. And they set up a hate account that got taken down after the school got involved. The bullying was so bad the school were calling my mom and Seth in once a month, sometimes more. Mom tried being all sweet about it and promising me it would get better. She told me she loved me and would protect me. But she still went along and married their dad and she still acted like we were one family. Eva and Ben hate my mom too. They used to like her and call her their aunt but they treat her like shit too and they've wished me dead to her face before. So I was really hurt when a few days ago mom told them she loved them just as much as she loved me and she would always love them and be there for them and she was so happy we were a family. It felt like my mom stabbed me in the back and she's the only parent I ever had. My dad likes to ignore that I exist. After hearing mom say that I pulled away from her and I was cold and kind of hostile to her. She picked up on it immediately and asked why I was being like that. I told her I heard what she said to Eva and Ben and that I felt betrayed that she could love them as much as me. I told her they put me through hell, they hate me, they wish me dead. And she loves them. I told her clearly I don't mean as much to her as them because someone who loved me could not love them after all that. She told me I shouldn't see it like that and I told her a good mom wouldn't love them when they want her only child dead. Seth pulled me aside a day after mom and I had that fight and he told me I was being harsh and he's laid some more ground rules down with his kids. But to not take it out on mom. That night at dinner Eva, accidentally, dropped her hot soup all over me. Mom tried to comfort me but I told her I don't want her near me after what she said. Seth told me that was not an appropriate way to treat my mom and now it's like I'm the bad guy here. Stories number 12. Aita for not wanting to wear a different bridesmaid dress. A few months ago, my 32F, good friends, 33M, Riley, fiancé, 33F, Sam, asked me to be a bridesmaid. The bride-to-be and I have always been friendly but not very close. She never seemed very interested in getting to know our friend group despite repeated attempts, so I was pretty surprised when she asked me. Still, I agreed. The wedding is coming up in a few weeks, and while I'm more than happy to take part, I've been having some issues with the dress situation. The bridesmaid dress was picked out last year, and the fittings were officially finished last month. Sam paid for everything. The plan was for all bridesmaids to wear the same exact dress. She really stressed that she wanted all of us to look identical. But, during brunch 2 weeks ago, she told me that I'll need to wear a different dress. Apparently, she decided that all of the brides maxes should have a different look instead of looking identical. I thought it was a bit weird to change something like this so late in the game, but didn't really think much else of it. We agreed to a date time for my fitting, and continued with brunch. Fast forward to the day of my fitting last week. The new dress was unexpected. While the old dress was a cuffed off-the-shoulder emerald green dress with a high slit and was fairly form-fitting, this new dress was giving elevated muumuu. It was shapeless and long-sleeved, and was what I can only call vomit green. Regardless, I agreed to wear the dress, thinking at least the other bridesmaids would join me in my suffering. 2 days ago, during dinner with one of the bridesmaids, I asked if she's already seen her new dress. She looked confused, and asked me what I was talking about. I reiterated what Sam said during brunch, and she looked even more confused, and told me that she hasn't heard anything about getting a new dress. This is when a few alarm bells started going off. Later that night, I texted all of the other bridesmaids asking if they'd been told anything about getting new dresses, and they all said no. I once again reiterated what Sam told me during brunch, and they agreed that the situation was starting to look a bit sus. One of them suggested that it may just be a misunderstanding. I didn't understand how it could be a misunderstanding, but decided to speak with Sam again anyways. I called Sam yesterday, and after some generic chit-chat, I asked her why she hasn't told any of the other bridesmaids that they're getting new dresses. Long silence. Like, so much so that I thought the call disconnected. She then told me that she made a last-minute decision not to get everyone different dresses, but I'd still be wearing a different dress because she already bought it. She already bought the old dress too, so this reasoning made zero sense. I tried to reason with her by mentioning how strange it would look for one bridesmaid to look completely different from the others and would draw unnecessary attention, but she said she didn't mind. She then rushed to get off the phone, and basically hung up on me. Later that day, I texted her to tell her that I didn't feel comfortable wearing that dress, and I kind of felt like she's picking on me for some reason. Haven't received a response yet. Part of me feels like I'm being a bit dramatic, but another part of me feels like singling me out for no reason. I don't want to cause any drama or stress, but I also don't want to feel uncomfortable at the wedding. So, Aita Reddit. A few people have suggested that Sam is jealous of me being Riley's friend, but another close female friend of Riley's is also a bridesmaid, but she is a lot closer to Sam than I or anyone else in our friend group is. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, she jelly girl. Do not participate in the wedding if she is going to be such an AH. You should tell your friend because that is BS all around. Reply, I'm learning towards just demoting myself to guest. But my friend was so happy to hear that I agreed to be a bridesmaid. Commenter 2, something is definitely sus. Either she thinks you're too close to the groom and is targeting you because of it, or she thinks you're too pretty and wants to make sure she looks better than you. Either way, targeting is definitely going on. Your male friend might not be your male friend much longer. Considering the targeting, I would tell your male friend the truth and let the chips fall as they may. Tell him you don't want to be in the wedding because the bride picked out a really ugly dress just for you, and if you are not the MOH, that's even weirder. You feel like this is some kind of personal attack, so you think it would be better to bow out than become some kind of laughingstock on his big day. It will definitely piss the bride off, but it prevents the bride from making up lies about why you wore the dress you did or that you dropped out because you can't stand to see them get married. If you've watched Charlotte at all, you've likely seen some bride stories where bridezillas did this to some bridesmaid they hated but felt they had to invite because of the groom. This sounds on par. Reply, oh boy, ugh. I foresee multiple unpleasant conversations in the near future. I'm just wondering if this was her plan from the beginning, or if something happened pretty recently that made her dislike me. Commenter 3, NTA, this was a very calculated move to make you look bad. Reply, but why? I can't figure it out. We've never argued and all of our interactions have been pretty positive. Does OOP still have the possession of both original and new dress? Reply, nope, she took the original dress back. Update 1. Didn't think I'd have an update so soon, but here we are. I spoke with Riley over the phone last night, and explained the entire dress situation. He seemed more disappointed than surprised, which caught me off guard, and was pissed on my behalf. He then told me what he believes is the reason behind Sam's newfound hostility towards me. Last month while he and Sam were having dinner with his family, his mother let it slip that Riley and I kinda went on a date a while ago. To be clear, we did not actually date. We went on a double date with a friend and a girl he was into because he was so nervous. I never even counted it as a real date because Riley and I were just there to make our friend more comfortable. There has never been anything even remotely romantic between us. Also, keep in mind that this happened almost 12 years ago. I had honestly completely forgotten about it. Riley said that he explained everything to Sam to drive home the fact that it wasn't a real date, but she was fixated on him not telling her about it until now. She said that if it was truly not a real date and if he really didn't have any feelings for me, then he would have already told her about it. Things were tense for a few days, but they later apologized to each other, him for not saying anything and her for overreacting, so he thought that the issue was resolved. That seems to not be the case. Anywho, Riley plans on speaking with her tonight, so we'll see what comes of that. Regardless, I don't think it makes sense for me to continue to be a bridesmaid, even if I'm allowed to wear the original dress. Hoping everything works out. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, wow. That is super unhinged. It's a huge red flag. I agree that you probably should step out of the wedding party. Reply, yeah, I could not believe it when I heard that that's why she's acting a damn fool. Madness. Commenter 2, why haven't you been asked to be a groomswoman? Reply, OP has a lot of brothers, so all of them are his groomsmen. There's already an equal number of bridesmaids and groomsmen. Although, with me likely no longer being a bridesmaid, not sure what the plan would be. Commenter 3, Riley's mom did that on purpose and no one can change my mind. Sam sounds unhinged and was probably hoping this would push either her to break up in a rage or for Riley to wake up to the psycho he's about to marry you, unfortunately, were used as the catalyst. Very uncool. Definitely skip the wedding and keep Riley at arm's length till he either dumps Sam or handles his mother. Commenter 4, well, it seems he has bigger issues to resolve now than handling the dress situation. He's marrying the mental one. That girl is unhinged, getting mad at something that wasn't even a date that happened 12 years ago. I would say, if this wedding happens, just go as a guest. Update 2, well my fellow potatoes, I have another quick update. Things don't seem to be going well. This afternoon, Riley asked me if he could stay at my place for a few days, until he has to travel for work later this week. Of course I said yes, but asked why he wants to stay with me. He literally lives 30 minutes away. He said that he doesn't want to talk about it right now, so I backed off. He's currently holed up in one of my guest rooms, and hasn't come out in hours. I am worried. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, BTW, do you live alone? Because the crazy girlfriend might use this as an ammo to destroy your reputation, saying that you stole her fiancé, even now that he's there in your home. Can't he stay with his family? Reply, yes, I do live alone. His parents are about as far away from him as I am, so don't know yet why he didn't go to them. I don't mind either way. Besides, my rep is solid and my network is quite a bit larger than hers, so not really worried. Commenter 2, he's seeing his GF for who she really is. Also, have you considered that Riley may have always had feelings for you, and that's what's making her so mad? I'm sure someone already mentioned this in the comments on the other update, but I am playing catch up. Reply, I honestly don't think that's the case. Trying not to think too much about the situation other than making sure he's okay. Commenter 3, oh. I won't lie that I'm glad he's taking space from Sam after all of your other posts, but it's still very sad and my heart goes out to him. Go pick up his favorite takeout comfort food and maybe give his family a call just in case. You know him best, good luck. Reply, made him one of his favas, Rogan goshed, and it's currently cooking on the stove. Trying to convince him to come out and eat, and watch Doctor Who with me, but no luck yet. Commenter 4, this is a Sam problem. Not a you problem. Riley should know who he is marrying. Some people are just jealous of everything. But you occupy a lot of rent-free space in Sam's mind. Because she is a jellyfish. Jealous. Update 3. This afternoon, while Riley and I were at work, I received a call from the security desk of my residential community. Someone was there, claiming that they're my guest, but they didn't have a code and their name wasn't on the visitors list. It was Sam. I told security to deny her entry, which they did. Not even a minute later, Sam called me, but I didn't pick up. She called me thrice before I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and then 4 more times after I did. She then sent a text saying, "You're causing misunderstandings. You need to send him back today." I'm home, but Riley is still at work. Haven't told him anything yet, don't want to stress him out while he's working, but will after he returns to my place. Also, haven't tried to contact Sam, and I don't plan on doing so anytime soon, really don't foresee any convos between us going well right now. Random kind of funny thing to note, since yesterday, Sam has been removing me from the Bridesmaid group chat, but the other bridesmaids keep re-adding me after noticing that I'm missing. This has happened 5 times. OMG. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, LOL, send him back. Do you keep him in a box in your closet? I think you might have helped your friend to avoid a terrible marriage. Please let us know what happens after work. Reply, I was tempted to respond with something like, sorry, USPS is closed right now, but figured that wouldn't help the situation. Commenter 2, how is OP causing misunderstandings? Sam has done all of this on her own. All the OP did was ask the bridesmaids if their dresses changed and informed the groom. Seriously, what the fuck did she think was going to happen when his close friend walked down the aisle in that monstrosity and no one else did? He'd have known what was happening and why, and he'd have been pissed. Commenter 3, misunderstandings. Puke green dress and changes to it for only you. She ought to just have said she didn't want you as a bridesmaid. Groom could have found another placement for you. The man better run fast out. Op, I am glad you have good security, but you and Riley need to get somewhere to lay low a little bit. Keep that crazy away from both of you. Perhaps ask the bridesmaids to stop reading you and leave the group as the bride doesn't want you. Maybe say something like, ladies, please understand that there are misunderstandings going on, and since Sam doesn't want me here, please respect that. If she ever wants me back, let her add me back. Bye. Commenter 4, Sam wasn't going to take any responsibility for the dress. She was going to try to convince Riley that OP changed the dress on purpose to ruin their wedding, and the plan all fell apart. Update 4. Last night, after Riley returned to my place after work, I told him everything regarding Sam trying to come to my house, and showed him the text message and missed calls. He was pissed. I have never seen him so angry in all my years knowing him. He was completely silent but looked like he was 2 seconds from setting someone on fire. After letting him cool down for a bit, I asked him if he wanted to talk. He did. He told me that they always seemed to argue about the same things. Then, she'd pretend to understand and be alright with everything only to bring it up again in the future. A few examples of the main things she'd say bring up. Our friend group is toxic and too close. Riley should be thankful to her for keeping his drug habit a secret. A while ago, he mentioned to her that he smoked weed multiple times in uni. He's too secretive about work, and I know more about his job than she does. We're both feds who work in Intel, and our offices sometimes liaise with each other. He spends too much time with his family. He'd suggested couples counseling a few times, but she kept on refusing. They'd been doing pretty well for the past year or so and didn't argue much anymore, so he stopped brining it up. Apparently, the absolute last straw happened the day he asked me to stay at my place. During the argument with Sam that led to this, initially regarding the dress debacle but snowballing into other topics, in addition to trying to get him to cut me out of his life, she also called me the N-word, I'm black BTW, and Riley and Sam are white. According to Riley, that's when he knew that he was 100% done. Before he left, he told Sam that their relationship's over. Since then, she's been blowing up his phone, but he said he hasn't read any of her messages or answered her calls. She also sent him emails, which he has also ignored. He's going to tell his family and our friend group before he leaves for his work trip this week. I encouraged him to consider doing so sooner rather than later before Sam has a chance to try to stir things up. Also, when he returns from the trip, he plans on going back to his place to get his ring back from Sam, and tell her that she needs to find a new place to live. The house is his. We spent the rest of the night, and part of the early morning, eating leftovers and cookie dough, working our way through some Moscow mules, and watching Monty Python. It'll take some time, but I know he's going to be fine. Thank you my dearest potatoes for all of your insight, advice, and kind words. Love this community. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I want to say he should tell her to get out of his house before the work trip, because who knows what she'll do to it while he's not in the area. But she could also do the same thing after he kicks her out, unless he gets a security system installed before leaving. While he's gone, you have to be extra careful because Sam might try something knowing he isn't around. Reply, yeah, I don't love that he's waiting to tell her after he returns from the trip. Luckily, they do have a security system, mostly outside but a few inside as well. The account is under his name, but he just changed the passwords and removed her as an authorized user, so she can't tamper with the system. Well, technically she can if she wanted to smash the cams and other components with a hammer. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Don't have to worry about her while I'm at home, but I'll keep an eye out whenever I'm not. Commenter 2, he needs to save the before pictures so that after she steals or destroys everything he can call the cops on her. You are absolutely correct, he needs to get ahead of her controlling the public narrative. He also needs to warn his work that he has a mentally ill ex who is stalking him and that they should ignore any suspicious calls or emergencies, and not give any info out about him. Reply, good idea, suggested taking pics, and he said he'd do it while she's at work tonight. He works in Intel, so all buildings are very secure. She wouldn't even make it past the initial security team. Commenter 3, I'm so sorry you and him are going through this, but in the long run, this is the best thing that could have happened to him. She inadvertently ousted him from a lifetime of misery and blatant racism towards one of his closest friends. I'm so sorry she said that awful thing about you. But glad he knows what kind of person she is. Reply, thank you, the blatant racism DFS caught me off guard. Good riddance to her. Commenter 4, holy potatoes. Glad Riley had his eyes open before it was too late. That list alone has so many red flags. But then to be saying that word. Just no, hell no. I don't care what color you are, that is not right on any level. Such trash. While it might be too quick, he needs to go change the locks on his house and kick her out before the trip. Who knows what he will come home to. Get all family and friends to go pack her up and put her stuff outside. Update 5. Hello my potato peeps, it's been a hot minute. I'll dive right in. Apologies if this is scatterbrained, I've been stuck at an airport for 35 hours and haven't slept at all. I was able to convince Riley to tell his immediate family and our core friend group about the Sam situation before his work trip, as opposed to after. Specifically, he told them that he and Sam are broken up and there won't be a wedding, that they broke up on bad terms, and that everyone should take anything Sam may tell them with a grain of salt. He wasn't ready to tell them absolutely everything, just the important bits. Everyone was shocked, except for Riley's mom, more on that later. I was also able to convince Riley to not let Sam stay in his home while he was on his work trip. Before he left, took the ring back, had her pack enough items to last her for the duration of his trip, and told her she could get the rest of her things after the trip. His mother was there with him when he told this to Sam just in case shit went down, but Sam took it surprisingly, suspiciously, well. No one really trusted her calm reaction, so Riley had all of the locks changed before his trip. Not even 12 hours after Riley left, Sam started blowing up my email. I blocked her number, which I guess she realized. Within the span of 24 hours, she sent me exactly 33 emails. Most were about me being evil, a cunt, a slut, low class, and a homewrecker. Some included pics of me and Riley, with varying captions like, "Should have known you wanted him all along, I can tell you've always wanted to fuck him," etc. And a few of them were just her begging me to let her have Riley back. Felt like I was getting whiplash. I didn't block her because honestly I was curious about how much she would incriminate herself. She ended up sending me a total of about 60 emails. Fast forward to a few days before Riley returned from his trip. I was having lunch with his mom, and the topic of Sam came up. Potatoes, remember when I said that Riley's mother wasn't surprised when he told her about the Sam situation? That's because she wasn't. Apparently, she's always felt that something was kinda amiss with Sam, but she never really had anything concrete to tell anyone about and didn't want to seem dramatic, especially because Riley is aware that his mom and Sam never really clicked. Few things she brought up. On multiple occasions, she noticed Sam giving me dirty looks for seemingly no reason. Sam would sometimes try to change the subject when I was mentioned, and has, jokingly, mentioned that she hopes I start dating someone soon so she could spend more time with Riley. Sam has made some offhand comments that maybe weren't explicitly racist, but rubbed people the wrong way. For example, she mentioned not wanting to get food poisoning from eating at ethnic restaurants. At this point, I was wondering how I never noticed anything. The next day, as I was leaving work, one of the security guards on the base told me that he turned away a car that morning that was trying to get on base because the driver had none of the required credentials, and refused to go to the visitor center. The driver asked for me by name, and refused to move until she was threatened with detainment. It was Sam. At this point, I was done. I spoke with my security POC that same day, and reported her. A report was filed, and I took that report to Sam's work, and gave it to HR. The following day, I got another angry email from Sam telling me that, because of me, her upcoming promotion had been put on hold. I slept extra peacefully that night. Fast forward to the day Riley returned, the first thing he said as soon as he walked through the door was that he may need a lawyer soon. He told me that a friend of Sam had informed him that Sam is trying to figure out how to file a marriage certificate without Riley knowing. Apparently, she thought she could just forge Riley's signature as well as the officiate signature, and then file it at the circuit court. I'm pretty sure that's not even possible. What the actual fuck? After that, a few things happened in rapid succession. Riley retained a lawyer, who sent a letter to Sam informing her that what she tried to do was illegal, and legal action would be taken against her if she tried to file the marriage certificate. Sam refused to retrieve the rest of her things until Riley threatened to give everything away. She eventually took all of her stuff, as well as some things that weren't hers, mostly some random framed pictures. Riley has since got them back. Our entire friend group and Riley's family have blocked Sam on everything. I showed Riley the emails Sam sent and told him about how she showed up at my job, and he tried to convince me to at least consider getting a restraining order if possible. I haven't tried yet, but I'm holding on to the emails just in case. Sam got a DWI, and spent a night in jail. Sam got fired from her job. As of last week, things have been pretty calm. No one has heard from Sam lately, which we're all quite happy about, but we're still keeping our eyes peeled just in case. Riley is still having a hard time, but he's getting better. He's eating pretty normally now, and has resumed participating in group hangs with our main friend group. Looking forward to the day Sam is a distant memory. Top comments. Commenter 1. Hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel. Commenter 2. Can you imagine how bad his place would be if Riley had waited until after his trip to kick her out? Totally dodged a bullet. Commenter 3. Wow, what a crazy ride. Sounds like Riley dodged a bullet, yikes. It's a good thing for him that the dress thing happened. Imagine if they'd gotten married, maybe had a few kids, and then he finally saw the crazy. She'd be a nightmare in divorce court. She's bad enough now, but if she had kids, child support, alimony, and half a house to fight over. Also, who tries to file a fake marriage license? That is completely unhinged. Stories number 13. Aita if I throw away someone's remains if no one in his family wants his ashes. Long story short, roommate and I shared an apartment from 2018 to 2022. She was separated from her husband when he died 2021. He was cremated, ashes were mailed to her. She kept him in a box in a closet in the laundry room. 2022 she bought an RV and moved to Brenham to be near her daughter and grandchildren. She asked me to hold on to the ashes and a few other things, pics, clothing. I agreed. She couldn't be near the ashes, they set her on edge and just rattled her. We had a falling out over money, more than 5K. I haven't heard from her since September 2024. I know she has some serious health issues she is dealing with, I really don't want to talk to her, so my feelings aren't hurt. I reached out his son Dom Jr., a real estate agent in February 2025 about his father's ashes on Messenger. He responded, but has made no effort to retrieve the ashes either. Did I mention she also basically walked from her youngest son that she left living in an RV in my backyard? What was supposed to be a short-term favor has turned into 3 years of her 40-something schizophrenic bipolar audio hallucinations living on my 6 acres. I would give him the ashes, but I don't think he would handle it well at all and I don't know what kind of episode it could trigger. He took the death badly as his whole world as he knew it ended. He's never lived on his own and he is not doing a very good job at it. I threatened in February if no one made arrangements to come get these ashes I'm putting them in the dumpster. AIT if I do. Stories number 14. Neighbor is acting erratically over me building a fence in the front of my house. We used to get along great with our next door neighbor. For context, she is an older Polish woman who lives alone and is very OCD about her grass. She will pick up leaves as they fall down from the tree and pick up leaves off her grass even if it rained. Anyways, she has a front fence that she didn't run all down her property line. She stopped it at the front so her whole right side of her home is exposed next to ours. Then picked up the fence when her backyard begins. We had more than a few times where strangers would enter the side of our house and actually try and enter our home. So my husband decided to put up a front fence. At the time my neighbor was redoing her backyard fence and she knew my husband also wanted to do his backyard fence, so she recommended her guy. As she followed up to see if my husband called the guy to get the work, my husband told her that he did and that he also asked the guy for a quote for the front as well. She immediately lost it. Since then she has been acting so crazy. It started with her calling the alderman and she wrongfully accused us of taking her land. The alderman came and spoke with us and sided with me and my husband. The problem is that she wants to use our front walkway that's on the side of our house to access her right side of her property. The side that she didn't fence, so she fenced herself out and has always just went on our property to access her side. She's mad cause with our fence she can't just walk in and go to her side of her house anymore. We told her we would give her a key and she said no. Since she accused us of stealing her land, we didn't feel comfortable about allowing her to come and go off our property anymore, but she didn't care. She called a handyman to install a security camera and he worked on our side of the property and she didn't ask. I asked the guy to please inform her for any future work she will need to ask us for permission before she enters our property. The security camera was to watch us because she was so paranoid we would build a fence. This Saturday we had the company begin work and she totally lost it. She harassed the workers telling them to stop work and she was accusing us of stealing land. She threatened to report them to the city and to call the inspector on us. My husband had to stay outside with guys as they worked and when he went in she would come back out and harass them. Then she called the police. 4 police cars came. I don't know what she told them, but it was not the truth because the cops sided with us and told her to stay inside and not bother us. Then Sunday she paces looking at our fence posts staring. She looked at our fence posts like 10 times on Sunday and then she was pacing our backyard and we have her on camera just staring and pacing and starting in. So creepy. Then Monday she is walking and starting again and she stops one of our neighbors and starts complaining to him about our fence right in front of our house. She continues pacing and staring through the day. Then later that Monday a guy comes and she walks him to our house and he starts looking at our posts. My husband came out this time and asked the guy who his was and why he was interested in looking at our property. He told us that he is a realtor and a good friend of hers and he came because she called him telling him that we stole her property from her and accused us of putting posts on her property, which was all lies. We immediately showed him our proof and he agreed with us and tried to mediate with her, explaining that we are legally able to build and that she can extend her fence so she is not blocked out. She just said no. No. And didn't want to do that. So my husband just left. We made sure everything was recorded. Then today. She came outside and stared at our property again, just pacing. She did the same in the backyard. Then she went to the front and started flagging down neighbors who she never talks to and starts to complain about our fence, calling us bad people and that we are stealing her land. She is acting so malicious. What do I do? It's crazy. Update. So I called the police to see what she accused us of on Saturday. They said that she alleged we were encroaching on her property and blocking her egress. The claim was noted as false by the police. Here's a rough drawing of me and my neighbor's property. Hopefully it helps better visualize. Drawing of property. Update. It snowed and the neighbor came out with her hair curlers in her hair and her pajamas and slippers, no jacket, so she was in some hurry and went to the front of our house to stare while she was on the phone. Not sure what information she needed from staring at our posts, maybe she needed our address. Looks like she's trying to call someone else on us. She is straight loosing it as she knows the fence will be completed as soon as weather is better. Relevant comments. OOP clarifies the drawing of the fences and has added a picture for the better visuals. Reply, sorry, yes, the drawing isn't the greatest. But to help explain, she has a 6-foot iron fence in the front of her property. It goes all the way down the left side of her house, but on the right side she stopped the fence at the beginning of her house and curved it in. So it leaves the right side of her house not fenced all the way until the end of her house. She then continues the fence and curves it in when her garage begins. Here's a picture to help. She is upset because with our front fence she can't go on our property to get to her side. Every day she is out staring and calling people to her house to look at it and complain. Commenter 1, how old is she? Should Adult Protective Services be notified of her sudden erratic behavior? Reply, she has to be about 70 to 80 years old. I thought about calling Adult Protective Services too, but I'm not sure, I'm kinda on the fence. I'm waiting to see if she persists and if she does anything else. But I do believe her behavior now is just weird. Ick. Commenter 2, I don't think it would be a bad idea to consider. Dementia escalates out of nowhere. One day someone can be very amenable. The next, raging over perceived slights like a lunatic. Does she have any family that looks in on her that could intervene? She's been told by multiple authorities that she is in the wrong, yet she persists with this troubling behavior. Reply, thank you for that information. It seems like it could be happening to her. She doesn't have much family. Just one sister who visits sometimes and her son that lives in Poland. I fear if I report her she will do something vindicatively and make a false report to DCFs about our children. I wouldn't put it past her because she keeps lying. She told us her tenant hit her once and we believed her, so we called the police. The police came and left basically, and it turns out she just wanted to kick them out cause they didn't pay rent. She then ended up pretending to sell her house to get them out. OOP should get a land survey done to make sure everything is on her property. Reply, yes, we have. Everything is 100% on our property. Yes, 100% our property. Her new back fence is actually a few cm on our property and her left side fence is leaning over to her neighbors. She is actually stealing property. She is accusing us of things she is doing. We have a survey done, our fence is on our property. That's why she can't claim that she is now claiming we are stealing her land, because she fenced herself out from her side that is about 13 inches of land that has a bunch of rocks. She could run her fence down, especially when she redid her back fence this summer, but she chose not to. She just doesn't want us to have a fence cause she has been going on our property for years to get to hers, so she feels entitled and she likes being able to get work done in the side of her house without asking us. We never said anything cause we had a good relationship with her before, but looking back we should have set boundaries earlier. She was clearly taking advantage and acting like she owned our property. Commenter 3, does she have another way to get in her house? She can go in her front gate. Or what? Seems like cheaper to build a gate in her own property than all these cameras etc. Reply, yeah, she has her own front entrance and her own front fence. There is no door and nothing but rocks and 13 inches of property that's not fenced. She complains she doesn't have the money, but she built a whole new back fence. She just doesn't want to because she won't have enough space to fit on the side and have people do work. OOP on having security cameras around her house. Reply, yes, we have cameras. That's how we are able to catch all her creepy behaviors. We tried and avoid her, we just watch from our cameras to make sure she doesn't go on our property. When our concrete posts were first put in, she went outside to rake the grass in front and was doing it so violently it was weird, and then she goes and rakes at our cement on our property. She is so angry. Then we ask her to not come by our property and she goes, leave me alone, you bother me please. She says that in front of the neighbors to try and play victim, but she's the one starting all the problems. I told my husband record all convos and stay in view of camera when you talk to her. OOP on why she asked the company to relay a message to the neighbor. Reply, yes, because her main language is Polish. She speaks very limited English. Luckily our fence company's workers all speak Polish, including the owner. What's crazy is she's had it explained in her language multiple times too, and she still just says, no or nie in Polish. I'm actually learning a little now, trying to figure out how to effectively communicate the message, but everyone who speaks with her says she is crazy. Even the Polish police officer who was talking with her said she is crazy. OOP filing a harassment claim. Reply, I'm pretty sure I will file a harassment claim. I'm willing to give her one more chance. She does anything else and I will do it. I have so much video of her doing everything I describe. Even audio recordings too. I need to be extra careful cause she is a liar. She is getting so desperate she is now making a claim that a post that is on her property in the alley was put there by my husband and she wants him to remove it. My husband showed Google Map pictures proving that post has been there before we bought the property. We bought it in 2018, and it's been there for 20 years. It's all rusted too. Keep in mind she has lived here for 30 years, so she knows she was lying. She is literally looking for anything, even if she has to lie. Me and my husband were parking in front and was watching from her window with the phone in her hand. OOP on why she asked when the neighbor thinks OOP was stealing her property. Reply, from what I gather, because she speaks mainly Polish and we have people translating usually, she believes that because we are building our front fence she can no longer walk down our property to go to the side of her house. The side of her house is 13 inches and a bunch of rocks. She likes to clean the leaves and to dig a moat to move snow so it's not touching the side of her house. Keep in mind she could have put a fence straight down, but she chose not to because she needs to be on our property to even fit on the space. Had she fenced all the way down she would have to squeeze through and couldn't bend down or dig out her moat. Now in the beginning we were considerate of her feelings and that's why we offered her a key to go and come as she pleased to do what she needs on the side, but she said no and started calling everyone on us to try and make our fence project stop. She also has a front yard fence on the other side of her house. She completely fenced her neighbor off from the side of his house. He can't get any work done cause her fence is right up to his side of his house. She only cares about herself and I was too nice to worry about even considering her in the first place. If at any point she wants to access to clean or do what she needs we would allow her to pass there, so what she is so mad about we don't want it. In fact we want to put a fence straight down our line just to make that point clear. OOP's location on where this is taking place. Reply, I am in IL but not Evanston. I'm more in the city. But Evanston is not far from me. Update, our fence has been up for a week and a half. The neighbor surprisingly did not bother the workers when they put the panels up. I was so surprised, so that's why I didn't really do an update because I was like okay. This is over. Finally she must have come to her senses. Yeah, I was wrong. On Tuesday I was coming home from picking up my child from school and some man ran out his car and shouted if I was the owner of the home. I asked who he was and he stated he was from the city building in code enforcement while also briefly flashing his ID at me. I then proceeded to tell him that I am the owner and why was he here. He stated that he received a complaint about a building violation and that our fence is too tall and we must cut it down from 6 feet to 5 feet. Keep in mind my neighbor's fence is taller than ours by the way. I told the inspector that 3 licensed contractors that we contacted all informed us we didn't need a permit, but that if they were wrong we would gladly comply of course and or apply for the needed permit. He stated that there is no possible way the city would approve it. And I told him we will work with the city and find a solution, we don't want to cut corners and want to do it right. My husband then comes out and gets informed on what's going on and then my husband asks the inspector for his email or business card so we can follow up and work together to fix it. The guy refused to give us any card or email to follow up with him. He told my husband all the information is on the city website, why do you need my information for? He was very rude. I know how to talk with people so I told him. Look, I get you come across a lot of people who argue back and give you a hard time so you're on guard, but I assure you we don't want to argue and we want to fix this issue. He then calmed down and told us he has kids too and he understand why we need a fence etc. He then told us he would give us 48 hours to get a permit and then he left. Once I got home I reviewed the camera footage and the inspector entered our property and did not ring the doorbell to try and speak with us. He just trespassed and was walking around looking at our property. He didn't measure anything. Nothing. So I began to get suspicious. I then remembered when my neighbor threatened us and the workers saying she had an inspector friend and she was gonna report us. On top of that, why didn't the inspector want to give me any information to follow up? So weird. Then he tells me to get a permit in 48 hours. He didn't even tell me which one. And if he said the city would not approve it, why didn't he tell me to apply in 48 hours? Things just seemed off. So then I went to do my research. I contacted my alderman's office and asked for assistance in applying for a permit. I wanted to make sure we did the right steps. After we apply for our permit I asked the representative if they could look up the complaint for me because the interaction with the inspector seemed suspicious. She agreed and looks up the report. There was a report made 17 days ago by our neighbor, before our fence panels were up, that our fence was not on our property line. The report said nothing about fence height. She also told me there was no inspector assigned to the case and that it was still open pending investigation, so that's weird. Maybe he was legit and didn't update the case, but it's all not adding up. So the alderman agrees this is weird and states that they are going to get someone from downtown involved to speak with my neighbor because she is harassing us and it's just too much. The report she made was false. Our fence posts are on our property lines. We have our plat survey that proves all of this. In addition to all the other things listed in my other Reddit post that she has done. So today I'm just minding my own business like I usually do, and I get a notification on my camera. I see someone sticking their hand through my fence, pointing at my back and moving down my fence, repeatedly doing the same thing. So I go outside and calmly ask the women, "Do you have any questions about my fence that I can help you with? I see that you're sticking your hand through and pointing." She tells me, "I'm your neighbor down the block. I was just speaking with your next door neighbor and she has a problem with your fence." I let her know that the neighbor's claims are bogus and that we now have a permit for the height of our fence, and I have a survey of our property proving we are on our property line. I told her that the neighbor is crazy and if she has any concerns to please speak with me. As I turn, I see my neighbor in her bushes by her door. She was outside the whole time and stopped the neighbor as she was walking her dog to complain about our fence and spread false claims again. Then the neighbor leaves and immediately stands and stares at our house, looking at the permit displayed on our front door. This is getting crazy. And I really didn't want to do tit for tat. But I reported her illegal basement apartment. Which is not a false allegation because her zoning does not allow for a basement apartment. She also does not have 2 entrances. I really didn't want to do it, but she is really pushing me to become a person I don't want to be. I want this all to be over already. Praying she can finally understand reality soon. I will update if anything else happens. Does anyone speak Polish that can translate an audio file for me? It's between the neighbor, my husband, and the crazy neighbor. Me, I got the translation. Here it is if you're interested. Women, is my crazy neighbor man, is her realtor friend she called over to look at my house and complain. It looks like he was trying to actually help us and she was getting mad at him. He was mostly trying to mediate with her, allowing us to close the back fence that has always been closed for over 20 years, but now that she is mad she is not allowing us to close it because she owns a couple inches of property next to her garage that is unfenced and open to our property, so in order to close it off from the alley we need to close it on her few inches of property or else someone can slip through easily. She is just using that as leverage. Doesn't matter to us, we can just fence it straight down our property if we have to, and she will have awkward fenced-in boxes on the side of her house and she can't get in. Makes no sense. She is just using that as leverage cause it's all she has. That's the backstory on the back, lol, and below in the transcript. Woman, it's mine. Man, yeah, but you use this. Man, the rats were running in front of the garage. Woman, he should catch those rats. Man, okay, today. Woman, curses, I'm sorry, the rats were running. Man, does it bother you? Why? Woman, yes it bothers me and, he, will destroy it. Because he is so mean and, it, will. Man, but he asked you and you agreed. Woman, no, nobody talked to me about it. They just put up the fence. Woman, cries, Jesus, no. Man, and now what's bothering you? That it'll be open or that it'll be closed. Woman, what that? Man, so if he closes it and puts something, it'll be safer for you and for him. Woman, but it's mine. Man, why does that bother you? Woman, it bothers me because I'll have the entrance there. Man, where? Woman, from that side. Man, but from that side you blocked the entrance yourself. Woman, I'm going home because it's too cold. Are we going? Man, wait a second. Woman, no, I don't want to talk to him. I'll talk to someone else. I'm going to go to the city hall. Man, what do you want them to do? To put here. Woman, I'll to sort this out. I'm not giving up. Man, to be honest I'll tell you, I live in a building far from the downtown and I've done something to my neighbors too. They have something near their house. Woman, but why are you talking to them? You came to see me. Man, you know what, I think you could stand your ground, but it doesn't make sense because he. Woman, yeah, I'll stand my ground and he will do the same. You know what? Nobody asks me for my permission and do what they want. Man, he said that he asked for permission. Woman, you know what? I'm sane. Man, but why do you need the entrance to the garage from this side? Woman, they did everything, nobody asked me, it's mine. Man, but you should look and see what you did to the neighbors, something with the entrance. Woman, this have been like this since the beginning, do you remember? Man, but today someone could come to you and tell you to take down something. Woman, then I'll take it down. Man, that would satisfy you. Woman, you know what, I'm going home. Man, if I were you I would let him to do that thing. Woman, and I won't. Man, but it'll be safer and he will put a fence here. Woman, no. Man, so you will have. Woman, no, nobody asked me and I won't allow it, so. I'm going home, I'm cold. Man, I'll go with you soon. Woman, you shouldn't be the one sorting this out. Relevant comments. OOP on the suspicious inspector who stopped by the house with the badge. Reply, he had a badge, he flashed really quickly but he came in a personal car. He also didn't ring the doorbell. He just came and looked around and then went to sit in his car about to leave until he saw me parking and walking in. In regards to the fence, we did look it up. If the fence is 6 foot tall, it must be 80% see-through. Which ours is. But we went ahead and got the permit anyways. I looked up the permits on my neighbor's house as well as her zoning, and she is 100% renting an illegal basement. Yeah, people working for the city can be rude in general. What really made me suspicious is no contact info. No proper information. No citation. Like, how do we follow up? He told us we don't need a permit for a 5-foot fence, so we need to cut ours down, but then told us to get a permit. Either he didn't know what he was doing, or maybe in some way he was trying to help us out towards the end. Ick. Is it common practice to not give any info about a violation and no contact info to follow up? Even my alderman said he should have given us his business card and a notice of a violation. We'll see if he comes back. He also came in a personal car too. Exactly. That's why I was so confused. He told us we had to cut our fence down to 5 feet because we don't need a permit for that, and then told us to get a permit. Like, why are we getting a permit? Especially when he said the city wouldn't approve it. I left that interaction so confused. OOP on the neighbor kicking up a fuss over the fence. Reply, she is mad because she can't walk through our property to reach the side of her house. Long story short, she closed herself off with her fence. And always just walked on our property around her fence to get to her side. We offered her a key at first, just trying to be good neighbors. But now she will have to fix her fence and run it down because she is causing too much trouble over a problem she created by her own fence. Yes. She is just upset cause she lived here 30 years and somehow that means she can use our property whenever she wants, and we were nice enough to not even care. Then we want to put up a fence to protect our family and property, and now we are the bad guys. OOP on drawing a cease and desist letter through her attorney for the neighbor. Reply, my husband is already in the works with this. Seems to be the best option at this point. I agree, that's why we are kinda using it as a last resort. I don't believe she is rich by any means, and again I don't wish her harm no matter how annoying she may be. I just need her to understand that we are not doing anything illegal. All her accusations have been proven false and she still keeps accusing us. I feel like it's a matter of she thinks since she has been here longer she has the say of what goes on. Nothing else makes sense. She is full of hatred and it's disgusting. The other day, I have this on video, she walked by and spit on my fence post. Like what? Then today she is sticking her hand through the backyard fence and ripping pieces of our grass out. I have all this on video too. Like, the level of hate you need to have for someone to do these petty things is crazy, and we never disrespected her, we got along great with her for years. All that changed is we informed her we were building a front fence and she immediately changed. OOP on the illegal basement apartment the neighbor was renting. Reply, she rents the basement. We discussed all solutions, she refused all. Our contractor offered to give her a quote on the swinging gate for her side, but she said no. She is dead set on us just not having a front fence. It's sad that there are people out there that are this unreasonable. We are going above and beyond to try and reason with her, but she is just being malicious. Today she called over someone who was walking their dog and proceeded to touch our fence and tell them lies again. My husband had to go out and politely just make it clear that we are not taking her property. We don't engage unless she touches our property, and today she did. Again, she keeps acting like we are bothering her and she is some poor old helpless lady whenever we go out to explain and tell people the truth. They shouldn't also be touching our property. If they were talking by her property I wouldn't care what they say, but they make it my problem. They touch my gate and start sticking their hands through. Update 2, I know it's been a few weeks since my last update. A few of my neighbors actually found my Reddit post, so to protect the privacy and security of myself and my neighbor I removed my old Reddit posts because there was pictures and videos that I didn't want getting shared to neighborhood platforms. I mainly made my post to vent and get feedback and didn't intend on it getting so popular it made it around the world and back to my block lol, but I do appreciate the support and advice from everyone. Updates, so a lot has happened in the past 2 weeks. To start, the workers came back to paint our fence and weld some mesh on the fence. Our neighbor freaked out and thought the workers welded our fence to her post. She called our mediator, representative from the alderman's office. She came out to check and immediately saw that we did not connect her fence post to ours. Then our neighbor got mad and started demanding for us to personally show her our fence plans and permits. We had our permit on our door. She got more mad and used a racial slur towards me and my family, and keep in mind she said the racial slur about us to the representative of the alderman's office. So it has been documented. That same day an officer from the city department from building and code enforcement showed up to our house again. It was a different guy this time. He told us that there was a report made alleging we were building a whole new garage without a permit. We haven't changed our garage at all, it's the same as when we bought our home and it's clear to anyone it was not just built. The building inspector immediately closed the case. At this point our neighbor is being malicious and is making false reports to harass us. What really worries me is that if we ever want to sell our home, these reports stay on record even though they are false and dismissed. After this we did a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, for any 311 reports for our address. She made 3 reports to the City DOB, Department of Buildings, all made in March and all made before our fence panels were even put up. She alleged we built a new garage, that our fence posts was not on our property line, and that we had installed a side fence without building permit. All false allegations. Keep in mind we had just the posts up March 18th and our panels didn't get put on till April 5th. We also didn't build the side fence she is talking about. Yet. So she did a complaint in advance assuming we have no permit. Can't even make this stuff up, it's insane. Then she made a false allegation to a police officer and told them my husband was yelling and screaming at her and throwing his hands up intimidating her during a time she was talking to her neighbors. Then the said neighbor walks to her car at the same moment her and the cop are talking and my neighbor points telling the cop to go ask the women, our neighbor from across the street. The cop goes over and talks to her and the woman tells the cop my husband didn't do what was alleged. Then the cop goes back over and tells my neighbor that the witness to the alleged incident says nothing like that happened. I also had the video and audio recording of that conversation. My husband went outside because she involved 3 neighbors at this point calling them over talking about our fence and us. He went outside to talk to the other people and not her. Even his body language in the video was not aggressive and he was not talking to her directly at all. After he told the neighbors what is happening, our side, he left and let them continue talking. Yet she wants to actually lie and try and put him in jail. So glad I have every interaction recorded. Same day she gets very erratic and upset that things didn't go her way, that she comes outside while I'm outside and starts singing humming like an opera singer. She has never did this before and it was just weird. I ignore her as I always do and just let her be. Then she decides to go inside and get her purse to pretend like she is going somewhere and goes across the street intentionally avoiding crossing in front of the neighbor who told the truth to the cops. They were outside on their porch. I assume she is now upset with them because they told the truth. Then she goes and talks to their next door neighbor who was just watering her grass. She proceeds to talk about our fence and us to them. I saw it all plain as day because I was outside. I let it go because I want to avoid her as I always do, but it was so annoying. Then she leaves and literally 5 minutes later she comes back in her house. She just went around the block and pretended to leave to just talk to another neighbor about us and just slander us and paint us as bad people. I honestly cannot understand this behavior. Then same day she calls someone over to come look at our backyard. I literally can't catch a break with her. We aren't doing anything wrong. Our fence is permitted by the city. She is just mad that she can't walk down our property as she did for 28 years to reach the side of her house that she fenced herself out from and she can fix, but she refuses and instead blames us. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Talk to a lawyer but send her a cease and desist letter, and if she continues you can report her for harassment and attempt a restraining order or file charges for harassment. Reply. We are working with a lawyer now. We tried mediation and APS. And she is not willing to be responsible or seek help. We did the best we could do to try and be understanding and get through to her, but at this point it's very clear she wants no resolution. Instead she prefers to harass us, slander us, and make up false claims to 311 and 911. We have proof of her lies and when she is confronted she still denies it. Even when it's on video. Can't reason with someone like that. Commenter 2. Call Adult Protective Services, she's not rational. Is there any way she could retaliate that would be worse than this? She's not well. Reply. We have and unfortunately they can't do much. She refused help and would not give any contact information for her loved ones. She will keep escalating because she is upset. She feels we need her permission to do things on our property. She is becoming very bitter. Yesterday my kids used chalk on our sidewalk that is enclosed in our fence and she took her water hose this morning and hosed the chalk off through her gate onto our property. I don't want to understand the level of hatred she has grown to have for us, it's honestly so sickening. Stories number 15. My husband is still best friends with the girl he had a 6-year long-term relationship, and admitted I was ugly when they recently hung out. 32F38M. I have been married for 4 months now, and we had dated for 2 years prior. This girl has been in his friend group for quite some time now, and it was never an issue till recently. We had hosted a little celebration recently, and at a point all the ladies were gathered in a room, and I was chatting with her. She's unmarried and 3 years older than me, and is stunningly pretty too, like model gorgeous. So we were laughing and talking well, till she brings up my husband. Asking me how it's going and if he was troubling me in any way, in a joking manner. She then pulls her phone out and scrolls down to show me pics of his from before. I was surprised she still had pics of that time. But nearly every single one of them were during the time they dated, and when I got uncomfortable and told her to stop she just laughed it away. My husband was in his 20s then, she called it his prime, and they traveled more than me and him ever did. What shocked me most was that she showed me pics and videos of them having traveled Barcelona twice, and this was shocking because when I told him about visiting that place, he outright refused it and said he hated that place, calling it boring. At a point I was tired of her telling all their stories so I left. It was probably a bit stupid to get angry about something like this, but I decided to leave the room. Later on, somewhere around late night, all his friends were down in the living room. One of their spouses had to breastfeed so I gave her a separate room for privacy. I thought of joining them all but then I heard one of the guys talking about how my husband's parents accepted me in the family. He and his family are all Koreans, and most of his friends mostly belong to the same community. I am from Indonesia and it was a lot of trouble when he told his parents about me. Though all of that has been fixed now, it felt weird to listen to that again cause a lot of slurs are still thrown around even though I've been living here for years. My husband told him it's been tough but it's alright now. And then his friend who I was chatting to earlier talks about how she had sent him on many blind dates with pretty women and decided to choose me. They all were drunk, so maybe they didn't know or didn't mean those words but it still hurt a lot. They all started laughing loudly, telling my husband how I was a bit ugly according to his standards in the past and one of them even acknowledging his relationship with the girl. My husband then said words I never imagined he would, telling them that I might be ugly but I married her. Someone who used to comfort me when I cried or bring me to shop and gifted me clothes, someone I was now trying to have a kid with admitting I'm ugly felt terrible. All the incidents of the day just came down and I walked out before I heard too much. I decided to shower and then go to sleep before they all did, but even this morning, after they all left and my husband slumped back in bed I still keep thinking about it. It's difficult to convince myself now that they're only friends, they have a longer history than I did with him, and his friends acknowledging it was even worse. This morning, despite his state he hugged her goodbye and arranged a pack of sweets he told me she likes and to enjoy on the trip back. It's been eating on my insecurity, especially after seeing the pictures. My husband looked much younger, without the fine lines now appearing and the youthful look back then. A part of me is jealous I never enjoyed that part of him, whereas she's not only more rich than me, but also too pretty, and it hurts after being called ugly by someone who I thought loved me. This has been bugging me for a while and also seems like a very stupid thing to confront about, so can any of you give me advice of what to do? TLDR, recent union of friends resulted in my husband calling me ugly and having to scroll through his old pic with his ex. Edit. She even talked about sending each other bouquets without roses but gifts instead. I used to tell him that I wanted one of those for my birthday with books, but he told me he had better things in mind and never gave me one. I feel bad that he didn't do it when I asked him, but was a routine for someone before me. Stories number 16. Wibta for not forgiving my husband for cheating on me with his ex-wife. I'm honestly a mess and I don't know what to do, so any advice would be appreciated. I, 27M, and my husband, 37M, have been married for 3 years, dating for 6. He has an ex-wife, 37F, which he divorced a year before we met. We have a son, 7M, who was adopted after we got married and who I love as my own child, because he is. I know my husband, Peter, fake name, is bisexual. I have no problem with it and I had no problem with his ex-wife, Allison, also fake name. I did have a problem with his family as they're a bit homophobic and are always telling Peter he should get back together with Allison. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were at his family's town because it was my son, Jack's, fake name, birthday and we wanted to spend it as family. My mother-in-law decided it would be a good idea to invite Allison so she arrived in the middle of the party. I didn't want to ruin Jack's birthday so I stayed quiet. I spent all my time with Jack, playing with him and his cousins at his request. When it was time to cut the cake, I noticed Allison and Peter weren't there, so I went inside and looked for them around the house. I found them in Peter's old bedroom taking their clothes off. I stood there in shock for a moment but then I left and went back to celebrating Jack's birthday. Part of me wanted to scream and cry but I also was in shock and I refused to make Jack's birthday about me. We cut the cake and opened the presents. People were already leaving when Allison and Peter came back. Peter took me aside and started saying that I shouldn't have cut the cake without him present and it was disrespectful. I stared at him and just said, "I'm sorry, I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He got quiet so I took Jack and left the house to go back to the hotel. Once I put Jack in bed and made sure he was asleep, I locked myself in the bathroom and broke down. I called a friend and he tried his best to console me. I only calmed down in the morning when I took Jack for breakfast because I didn't want him to see me like that. I'm now watching him play in the park and I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to have a broken family. I don't want him to know that relationships aren't a happy ever after. Peter has been calling and texting, apologizing for everything, and I'm tempted to forgive him. I'm tempted to just have my family back, and all my friends are saying that it was just a mistake, that he was vulnerable and Allison is his ex-wife. So what am I supposed to do now? I need the advice from people who don't know my husband or me personally. Please, any advice is helpful. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Teach your son that his future partners has to respect him and their relationship by not being a cheating bastard. Reply. I do want to teach him this stuff, but he's too young and I'm just scared that he'll get a bad view of relationships if he sees his parents divorce. OOP on collecting evidence on his husband's cheating and if the husband has done this before. Reply. From what I've been able to gather from the messages and calls, it has happened twice, including the time that I caught them. I hadn't thought about STIs, so thank you, I'll get tested. OOP responds to multiple comments about his husband not respecting him and the cheating wasn't the first time. Reply. It's not, I found out it's the second time, but I don't want my son to know what happened. He's unaware and happy thinking his dads will be together forever. I don't want to break that illusion. Why didn't OOP interrupt his husband's cheating with the ex? Reply. I was really too shocked and hurt by what I saw that I just stood there without them noticing me. I then heard my son and unconsciously focused on him and only him. A copying mechanism maybe? I don't know, I was mostly in autopilot. Commenter, NTA, but you should leave. I know it won't be easy, but if you stay, think of it as showing Jack that it's okay for your husband or wife to treat you badly. If you want him to know about happily ever after, you need to show him that it's okay to not settle and you work hard for your goals no matter what they are, and work towards them with kindness, honesty, and integrity. Kids are far more impressionable than we give credit for, and as someone who has known so many families where the person being hurt hasn't walked away, that hurt spreads until it damages everyone. Relating to just yourself here, there is a huge safety factor. Regardless of the sex of each individual involved, staying with a cheater also puts you in danger because you don't know everyone they're sleeping with and, more importantly, what STIs they can be carrying. So think about your son, and your health, and leave. Emotionally, if you're surrounded by people telling you to forgive and forget, those people are not safe to be around as you have no clue if they've been hiding this from you for a while either. Update 1. Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for your advice and I want to explain some things before the actual update. But thank you for opening my eyes about my situation. Peter and Allison didn't notice me when I saw them. There was music very loud downstairs and they weren't facing the door. I didn't stop them because I was in shock. I just stood there for a moment and I heard my son, so I unconsciously focused on him. I was pretty much in autopilot. Peter didn't come to the hotel with me because I changed to a different one. He did try to follow me but I took a taxi and left. As far as I know, he's staying with his parents and Allison left. We met when I was 20 and he was 30, we started as friends, and we ended up dating. Yes, we're both men and no, I didn't feel manipulated or groomed by him. Those were the most asked things and I did answer some comments, not all. Now on to the update. I did as some of you said and took some tests to discard any STIs or STDs, the results are coming back in a few days, and I will take another one in 3 weeks to be sure. My son is having a sleepover with a friend and I decided to speak with my husband. He came by our house. After a few minutes I texted him, he asked about Jack and I told him where he was, then we sat on the couch and started talking. I started crying after a few minutes and he followed after. I asked some simple questions: when? Why? How many times? Among others, and this is what I could figure out by all the things he said. It happened for the first time when he visited his parents alone 2 years ago. They invited her, they both got drunk, he was feeling lonely as I had been more attention to Jack since we adopted him, and they slept together. Nothing happened again until our son's birthday party. He said his mother pressured him a bit and he caved in. I don't believe he did it for that reason, but I don't know. He said he doesn't love her and I believe him, but it doesn't negate the fact of what he did. After talking for a while, I told him that I wanted a divorce. He started sobbing and begging for another chance, but I told him that I can't give him another chance because I wouldn't be able to trust him again and I don't want that in a relationship. He kept crying and begging for another 30 minutes until I told him that we have to think about Jack and his well-being, that we could stay friends DS and co-parent him. He got mad, really mad. He started yelling that it was all Jack's fault, that we shouldn't have adopted him, that he's the one who's getting between us. I was crying and really scared. I had never seen him this angry. He hit the table and stormed out of the house. I called the house where Jack is staying at and told them if Peter shows up there, they can't open the door. After the little episode, I was scared that Peter would try to hurt Jack. I called my friend again, Thomas, and told him everything that happened. He came by and is staying with me until I'm better. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to go on with the divorce. Comments. Commenter, you are absolutely not wrong for not forgiving your husband. His reaction to the news of divorce, blaming your adopted son, is alarming and shows his true colors. Stay strong and prioritize your and Jack's safety. Commenter 2, sorry you are going through this. On the bright side, it seems that you will have no problem getting a full custody. It is better to have one loving parent, than two co-parents, where one is resenting you for mere existence. Commenter 3, I can't believe that he is taking no accountability for his actions and blaming your completely innocent son. Every time you start missing your soon-to-be ex, I want you to please remember what he said about your son. It will be painful, but it will strengthen your heart and mind to move on from that toxic man. You are definitely not the AH, keep striving for a healthy, happy new relationship for you and your son. Update 2, hi again. Sorry for taking so long to update, but it's been a chaotic week and I'm pretty shaken up, but I'll try to summarize it. My husband has been showing up at my work, following me, and calling me from burner phones. I was afraid he'd go after Jack like many of you said he would, but he didn't. He said a lot of stuff, but I'll try to write the important things. He said that he missed when we were just us, that I stopped paying attention to him when we adopted that Jack, that I wasn't his, anymore. He said that he missed how dependent I was on him. I was very insecure when we met, but I started working on my issues when we adopted Jack because I didn't want to be a bad example for him. When we got married, I used to get sick all the time, I was weak and tired, so he would take care of me 24/7. The doctors couldn't tell what was wrong with me and I didn't get better until a bit after we adopted Jack. I guess that dependence, it's what he missed. Yesterday, he followed me to work and started screaming that I was his and that we made vows to stay together. We had to call security and he waited for me next to my car. I panicked and took a taxi home. He keeps messaging me and showing up to our house. I took a few weeks off work to be with Jack, although he's taking this better than me. I made an appointment with a therapist for him, and when the divorce is finalized, I'll go to one myself. I've been debating what to do, so I'll update when something happens. Comments. Commenter. It's good that you're prioritizing Jack and your own mental health by seeing a therapist. You deserve to feel safe and supported. It's wild how some people can't handle change, right? Your husband seems to be stuck in the past, and it's not fair to you or Jack. Just remember, you're doing what's best for both of you, and that's what truly matters. Final update. Hi guys, this is the final update for anyone who is interested. I'm only doing this update to give it some closure and because some people messaged me to ask for it. So here it is. This has been a really difficult time, but I'm almost divorced. I have primary custody of Jack, and I've got a restriction order against Peter and Allison. I'll try to be quick, but a lot happened. So, after I made the post, Peter kept calling and stalking me. I didn't know what to do until I started packing Peter's stuff and I found a box of pictures of me before we met, like 3 or 4 years before we met, while he was still married to Allison. I never knew why they got divorced. He just said it was too painful to talk about, so I never asked. But I swallowed my anger and sent Allison a message to ask her about the pictures, and she told me that they got divorced because she saw him stalking my Facebook several times and found the same box I did. He called it an innocent crush and curiosity, but she thought he was cheating on her and they got divorced. A year later, he met me, but Allison always thought that I was the side piece. I read a few comments saying that I maybe was sick because he was making me sick. I don't know if that's possible, I don't really know. I mean, the illness were bad enough to make me stay in bed, like having a bad cold, but I don't know. I stopped digging. After I found the pictures, I confronted Peter without Jack in the house and he seemed, I don't know, proud. He kept smiling and saying that all he did was for us, that it was love at first sight, and we were destined. He was just making sure it happened. Apparently, we had met before we became friends. I remember meeting him at a party through some friends, but we met before, as teenagers. He and I lived in close by towns and my school made some trips to the towns nearby and we met on one of those trips. We were something like friends, but only for a summer because he went to college and I soon forgot about him, but he found my Facebook, and the story continued. I was horrified, to say the least. He tried to console me and tell me that it was fine, that he did it out of love, and that if only we hadn't adopted Jack, everything would be fine. I was bawling my eyes out. My entire marriage was a lie. He said that he only slept with Allison because he knew that it would get my attention and that we didn't have to go through with the divorce, that I know he loves me and that's it. He promised to be a better dad for Jack if I made more time for him. He told me to quit my job because he earned enough to take care of all of us and that would give me more time with him. I was in shock and then he hugged, calming me down. I admit that for a moment, I allowed him to hold me, I allowed myself to consider his proposal, but I kept thinking about his lies. It wasn't about the cheating, it was the stalking, the lies, the obsession. It creeped me out, so I tried to pull away and tell him I'd go through with the divorce. He refused. He hugged me tighter and screamed that I needed him, that he could protect me, he could take care of me, he could save me, that I was his husband and only his. I was terrified. I slapped him and pulled away, yelling at him to get out of my house. He didn't. He just kept screaming and holding on to me until a neighbor heard the commotion and called the police. I filed a restriction order and been taking care of Jack since. During the divorce proceedings, Peter asked for 50-50 custody, which surprised me because in all this time, he hasn't cared about seeing Jack, but I later found out that it was only because he would get to see me and talk to me regularly. He's been contesting every single thing about the divorce, trying to make it last longer than it has, and it's been working. He offered to give me child support even though we have 50-50 custody, he allowed me to keep the house, and other stuff. So, that's what's been going on in my life. The only happy thing that happened was Halloween. Jack insisted on dressing up as Spider-Man and me dressing up as Tony Stark, so we did, and I took him trick-or-treating. It was the most adorable sight ever and I knew I made the right choice with him and Peter. I'm sorry for such a long post, but this will probably be the last update. Thank you so much for the advice and for hearing me rant. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. How did you meet on a school trip as teenagers when your husband is 10 years older than you? If it was the summer before he left for college, weren't you 8 years old? Reply, no, he was already in college, he just left again. He was spending the summer at his hometown, sorry for not explaining better. OOP clarifies on the timeline on how and when he met his ex due to their age gaps. Reply, he had pictures from before I thought we met when I was 20. And he was already in college, he was just spending the summer in his hometown, we met in the summer when I was about 14. I'm sorry for the messy writing, English isn't my first language. Update 4. I know I said that my last update would be the final, but I'm so very confused right now. So, we're finishing with the divorce proceedings, but Peter's attitude has given a 180 degrees and I don't know if I'm crazy or what. The last time I posted here, Peter was basically saying that our son was the reason for our divorce and only wanted custody of him to see me. Well, now he's being father of the year. A friend of mine, Dean, fake name, is handling the drops and pickups of Jack so that I don't see Peter. At first he was mad and called me because he thought he and I were dating, then he didn't care. Now, I thought that he would treat Jack badly and I kept a very close on him, asked him questions about his father, how everything was going, etc. Jack told me that he's been acting like the perfect dad, he's nice, he plays with him, helps him, and is completely different from before. I have talked to Peter and he told me he was going to therapy, which I'm happy for, and he has messaged me, apologized, and told me that we should try couples therapy. I declined and he hasn't asked again, but he wants us to meet up at his house tomorrow to discuss everything that happened. He said it was part of his therapy. I haven't gone to therapy, I can't afford it right now, but Jack is. I can't say I don't miss Peter because he was a great partner and husband before everything went down, but I don't trust him after all that happened. So, I don't know what to say to him tomorrow or how to express how I feel about it. Is it wrong to miss him? I mean, this whole thing happened because he slept with someone else and I know that he hasn't seen Allison and won't be seeing her again because she's also done. Should I just move past it? Jack is also saying that he misses the three of us together, he's cried to me about it more times than I can count and asks why I can't forgive his dad. What the hell am I supposed to do? To feel? It's a short update. I guess that I'm just trying to vent without judgment from the people I know and give an update to those who asked it. Thanks again for all the support I received in my other posts. Top comments. Commenter 1, it's love bombing. He knows your child is your priority and so that's what he's targeting. My ex cheated and was a diagnosed sociopath sex addict. To prove he'd changed, he joined Sex Addicts Anon to show he had changed. Even sent me a photo of his 1-month chip. I told him I'd never take him back regardless. So he never went back again, and told me that he'd wished he'd given me an STD, I was pregnant, so that I'd have a effed up kid, so that no one would ever want me. Love bombing isn't sending gifts, it's knowing so done so well that you can target them to get what you want. Commenter 2, I would be very careful right now, he's acting like father of the year, which is out of character for him. He knows what you value and it's Jack. So he's doing everything to win you back by being the best dad to Jack. He even has Jack asking you why you can't forgive his father. I would be wary that he's coaching Jack in small ways to try to win you back. This is either genuine or a master plan. The way he acted before about you being his makes me think it may not be genuine. I would stay the line you're currently in and just monitor the situation because the last thing you want to do is cave only to realize it was all fake. He even told you before that he cheated because you were not paying enough attention to him, so what happens if he feels like that again? Green light for him to sleep with someone else. I wish you all the best. Commenter 3, please don't go back. You were scared. He followed you. You feared what he would do to your child. You feared your safety. My ex did a lot of the same stuff and it's been 10 years and he didn't get better. And no. Not the cheating. The obsession. The creepy. Once I was gone for over a year, more and more kept happening. Or becoming clearer? How old were you when you first met, or in the photos? Because that's insane. Update 5. Okay, I'm going to clear up a few things before I give you the actual update. I don't answer comments, I prefer to answer every question here instead of answering the same question separately. 1. I should have explained IR better, but my restriction order was a temporal one, only for 30 days. 2. Peter was a very good husband. I read that he was abusive all throughout our relationship, he wasn't. And he was a good dad to Jack. Everything went to hell when I caught him cheating. 3. What Jack was saying wasn't told by Peter, I talked to him and I made sure, he just has been missing our life before. 4. Peter would never touch Jack like some of you suggested. My case may make it seem like he could, but he never even touched me or groomed me. I did talk to Jack, just to make sure, and he reassured me nothing happened. Now, on to the update. I did meet with Peter, most of you told me not to go to his apartment, so I told him to meet at a park, take a walk, or something. When I saw him, he was different. He looked very depressed and he hugged me when he saw me. He wouldn't stop apologizing for what happened. We started talking and walking, he didn't justify what he said or did, but he did say he regrets it. He said that he misses me and misses being together. I asked about Allison and he told me that he cut her and his parents out, which I believe he did, and then I asked about what he said about Jack. He basically said that he resented Jack for a long time because my attention wasn't on him anymore, and it was selfish, but he was too used to be the center of my world, so when it suddenly changed, he couldn't take it. He told me he loves Jack but that he sustains that if giving him up meant to have me back, he would do it in a heartbeat. We talked for hours while Jack was with my friend, I cried a lot, there were things I decided not to ask, like if he was drugging me like some of you said, because I honestly don't want to know. We have been texting these past days, mostly about Jack, but I'm considering family therapy, mostly to help Jack cope with everything. The divorce is still happening, which Peter wasn't too happy about, but he wasn't angry anymore, just sad. I also recently met a guy in a coffee shop and we have been texting a lot, so I'll see how that turns out. And that's it for the moment. I'll update you guys if you have many questions or if something else happens. Top comments. Commenter 1. You dating someone else is going to show you who Peter really is because you still refuse to believe it. Commenter 2. Yeah, I really don't want to be the one to say this cause your life is your life, but I genuinely think you should hold off any dating whatsoever. Was he a good partner and father before? No, not really, because all of that is tainted sand, irrevocably changed because he's been playing behind the scenes to make you his. Your relationship wasn't a natural process of knowing each other and falling in love, it's been him stalking you for years and threw away his previous relationship to manipulate a friendship then a romance with you. Like, really think about it, your ex-husband played puppet master the entire time you've known him, every meaningful moment was highly likely to have been orchestrated by him without you knowing that, how he wants to give up the son you guys adopted. He blames your son for the relationship failing and tried to convince you to give him up. I remember that one update you did where he told you he'd take care of you and give you everything so you can stop working and be home with him. If you were a woman, there would have been a barefoot and pregnant added to that. This man is obsessed with you, wants you with him always, and still blames your son for taking your attention and probably would give him up if given the chance, and you think dating is still doable. Please think about not starting anything with anyone, because if your ex has gone to these lengths, I guarantee you getting a boyfriend will push him to further. If your son was in this relationship with someone who acted and did the same things as your ex, what would you tell him? Please be safe, dude. Commenter 3. So men also manipulate other men when they are in a relationship, so it isn't just us women who fall for it. Cause my guy you have and still is, which is very concerning for you, not to mention Jack caused the second Peter get a whiff about you dating someone. Phew, my advice is hold off on dating and get a therapist, cause clearly you are not that good at seeing red flags and could end up in a relationship just as toxic as this one. Which sadly is the most common for people coming out of a toxic relationship, you go back to what you know sort of ordeal. Have one friend that does, and still is surprised when crap hits the wall no matter how many times you point out the same red flags with a banner in the sky. You just have a kid in the mix. Best of luck, OP. Stories number 17. To fool by not realizing I didn't have a master's degree. I'm on mobile, so sorry for the formatting. TLDR at the bottom. This happened yesterday, but I guess the food technically spans approximately 5 years. I finished my master's degree in late 2019, or at least I thought I did. After a grueling year of working part-time and writing my dissertation, at long last I got it finished, presented it in November, got my grade immediately after. My dad was even there to watch the presentation, good times. Because the holidays were right around the corner, I didn't have my diploma until February 2020 and, well, I think we all know what happened to the world right after. When I got home after getting the diploma, I scanned it so I would have a digital copy to send to employers and stuff, put the physical version safely away, and proceeded to not really think about it anymore. That's where the foo began. To be honest, I didn't even really look at it super carefully. Writing my dissertation was so incredibly exhausting and draining that I was just glad it was over and wanted to focus on my work. Years went by. I got through the pandemic, my career as a freelancer started gaining momentum, I fell in love, even moved to a different country. Recently I changed my name and emailed my university to ask about getting new copies of my diplomas with the new name. Somewhere in one of the replies from the university they asked, "Are you perhaps referring to your specialization diploma? We have no record of you finishing a dissertation, only all the other classes in the master's degree." My heart dropped. I looked at the digital copy I've kept for years, even dug up the physical version just to be sure, and lo and behold. While the diploma does mention the master's degree by its name very early on the middle of the second page it does specify that it's a specialization. I have to admit I panicked. I scoured my old emails for something, anything, that could help me prove that I didn't imagine the whole thing and wrote back explaining that I did finish my dissertation and asking what can be done to try to understand what actually happened here. They haven't replied yet, hopefully they will in the next few days. I know the professor who was my advisor can vouch for the fact that the presentation did indeed happen, but I'm terrified that, because it's been so long, nothing can really be done about it anymore. I guess time will tell. I honestly feel heartbroken. Thinking that all that hard work could go to waste makes me want to cry. More than anything I'm furious at myself for not paying more attention and catching this sooner. I feel like such an idiot. Wish me luck figuring this out. TLDR, I thought I finished my master's degree but the university didn't actually have any record of me finishing my dissertation and only gave me a specialization diploma. I didn't notice for 5 years and have no idea if this can be fixed or if it's too late. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, can you not contact the people who graded it that might remember you? Seems like a massive fuck up on the side of the college. Surely that's something you can fix, lol. Reply, I only clearly remember one of them and I'm not sure she would be able to help me directly. If the guys I'm currently emailing can't help me much, I might contact the director of the degree directly and ask about it. They would probably have records of who graded it. Commenter, I've not done my master's but surely you'd have payment records, right? Do you pay for this part like a class? Reply, IRC, I had to pay tuition depending on how many classes I was signed up for each year and the dissertation counted as a class. The fact that I paid for it doesn't necessarily prove I finished it, but I'm sure I could get the records from my bank if I need to. Commenter, don't you have a record on your online student account of which classes you enrolled for and when? I've only done undergrad, but for that on the transcript it lists classes and grades with the date taken. Would the class for this, is that how it works, show up on a transcript or in your online student records? Reply, I did once but I can't access my online student portal anymore, it's been too long. Next time I visit my home country I guess I can stop by the university and try to figure out what records they actually have, but I'm hoping the people I'm emailing will at least have some information for me. Commenter, bro, what? This is like my worst nightmare. Reply, I can't even sleep, I'm so stressed about this. Commenter, when I did my thesis, PhDs defend dissertations, masters defend thesis, I had to have it printed, bound, and retained by the library. Did you not have to do any of that? I had to submit mine to the Department of Graduate Studies for acceptance before I could even defend, and I still have those emails to this date 15Y later. Also, my diploma clearly states Masters of Science is the award but yours doesn't say that. Reply, I thought I did but they only asked me for digital versions and a CD before they let me defend it. I didn't think they would let me defend it if it wasn't good to go, but I did consider that might have been the problem. If that's the case maybe there's nothing to be done and I'm even more of an idiot than I thought. I sent all the digital versions I had to but never got replies to those emails, so I don't know if I can still access that information. My diploma states the award is a specialization, rather than a master's. Edit to add, I just remembered something, I did get a couple of copies made, including a printed bound version and a CD, but when I went to hand everything in the person told me the printed version wasn't necessary. I clearly remember I was pissed for wasting the extra money on the expensive printed version. You're lying because it's not called a dissertation, show us proof, etc. Comment. I understand some of this might be confusing because the names of things can be different in different countries and I wrote this post while incredibly distraught and sleep deprived. English is also not my first language, I know I maybe should have clarified that in the post. I'll try to explain in a way that hopefully makes more sense. I call it a dissertation because that's what they call it in my university. I'm aware that more often than not it's called a thesis, but it is what it is. Here is the degree's webpage. If you click on Planos de Estudo and scroll down it clearly shows that the unit is called Dissertation Project Professional Practice. The dissertation, or thesis I suppose, takes 1 full year and I actually took 1 extra year to do it, so I could focus on the thesis while I was also working. During that time I considered a couple of professors as advisors and met regularly with the one I ended up choosing. I still have plenty of correspondence with her in my email. Since the time of posting, I've been taking the time during my breaks to look into what information the university actually has regarding my thesis and my participation in the master's degree, and as it turns out, my thesis has been published. I found it in the online repository. I'm not too keen on linking it on a Reddit comment, but I'd be more than happy to DM you the link if you want, or to anyone who might be interested in reading it, though fair warning, it's really not that special. To conclude, I did have a thesis committee, my thesis was published, and I did defend it. They let me know my grade right after I defended it, as in, I did the defense. The committee asked me to step outside while they deliberated, and after 15 minutes or so they called me back in to let me know my final grade. I hope this clarifies some of the confusion. Edit. You guys, I found my dissertation in the university's online repository. It was published after all. I'm emailing them again with this information. Hopefully it will be enough proof that this is most likely an administrative error. Tomorrow is a holiday in my home country, so I'm not expecting to hear back from them until Monday, but I will make an update post as soon as I have more news. Also, I understand that in most English-speaking countries you write and defend a thesis for a master's degree, but I'm not from an English-speaking country. In my university they call it a dissertation. I'm sorry that caused some confusion. Update post. Hello everyone. A few days ago I posted about how it took me 5 years to notice that what I thought was a master's diploma was actually just a specialization, and my university didn't actually have any record of me finishing the degree. Some of you asked for an update, so here it is. First of all, I want to thank you all for the comments on my original post. I tried my best to keep up with them, but I have to admit I didn't expect my post to get so much attention. Once again, sorry for the mobile formatting, the TLDR will be at the bottom. I'm super happy to let you know that I have good news. To those of you who guessed this was probably an administrative error, you were correct. On the same day I made the post I found my dissertation, or thesis I guess, in the university's repository, which means that it did end up getting published like it was supposed to, and I emailed the university again with this information. I also took some time throughout the weekend to email my advisor and gather some information on who else I could potentially reach out to escalate the matter if I didn't get a reply from the people I already emailed, but fortunately it seems that won't be necessary. Yesterday, at long last, I heard back from the university. It turns out that when I finished my master's they were transitioning between IT systems and something in my records didn't get properly updated. Fortunately they told me they were already in the process of fixing it and apologized profusely for the mix-up. I hate that something so small caused such an issue, and I'm kind of super pissed at them for the fool, but at least I'm happy it seems to be a simple and fixable problem. It might have caused me a ton of anxiety, but I do still have my degree and I'm getting my diploma. Only took 5 years and a couple of meltdowns, lol. Now I'm off to write to my advisor again, let her know everything should be fine. I feel kind of silly for wasting her time like this, but oh well. Thanks again for all the support and advice, and to those who have been through a similar situation, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. It really sucks that this apparently happens so often. Hearing about your experiences made me feel way less alone, but this kind of stuff shouldn't be happening so much in the first place. Have a good one, Reddit. Thanks for listening to me. TLDR. I finished my degree right as they were changing IT systems and my record wasn't updated when it was supposed to. It's now in the process of being fixed. I do have a master's degree after all. Comment. Responds to a deleted comment. Reply. Thank you. Wish someone would have told me about the side quest sooner, lol. Stories number 18. Aita for confronting a parent after the comment she made to me. I, 24F, am a high school teacher in a pretty wealthy small town. As far as teacher salaries go, we are paid very well. I also happen to be an incredibly frugal person, and I have some goals for the future that are very important to me. So, especially when it comes to recurring expenses, I will choose the cheapest option available almost always. I could afford to pay more, but at this point in my life that doesn't make sense to me. Yesterday, a parent saw me buying canned chicken, a bag of rice, and some tortillas from a dollar store. I don't think she would ever step foot in a dollar store, but the store is next to a pretty fancy gym. She started making comments to me about how she knows that we're paid well, so it's unprofessional to make myself look poor by buying food at the dollar store. I tried to deflect with humor like I usually do, joking that I'm just a cheapskate. That didn't seem to work. She kept asking me questions about what the kids would think. I don't think they care, and if I really want to be viewed that way, I don't really care. I did have a chance to walk away, but I didn't take it. Instead, I told her that, with all due respect, the life I live on my free time is none of her business, nor does she have any say over it. That escalated the situation immensely. She ended up talking about how her taxes pay my salary. That's when I probably messed up, because I followed up with, well, in that case you should be happy I'm making those tax dollars stretch. I had to have a conversation with my boss today because she sent him an email. He didn't say I was wrong, he understood where I was coming from completely, but he did tell me I probably should have just let it go. Unprofessional? Maybe. But does escalating this situation make me TA? Edit, fixing typos for clarity. Stories number 19. 6 years of tree law, neighbor hired company to cut tree in my backyard. Context, neighbor said he was tired of the tree over his driveway since it had significant wingspan. He hired a company and they decided to lop down over my fence to near stump. Police report filed, have the company on security footage that matches the business card. Reaching out to property lawyer Tuesday to see if this is significant enough to follow through in court. 1 hour later, mini update. It'll include an end of this week update. Our city requires a license to operate as a landscaper and other various trades. This company does not have a license as per one of the landscaper organizations. Just to drop all their names in court and let the judge figure out who's paying. Sum of comments. Commenter, I'm interested to know if he hired them to trim just what was overhanging his property, which he has a right to do, within certain constraints, and they just went rogue, or if he somehow convinced them to trespass to lop it off. Reply, he claims no knowledge of the lopping off. Since this company is unlicensed, it wouldn't surprise me if they just lopped it not caring, but our relationship isn't great, so wouldn't be surprised if he convinced them, saying I didn't mind. Will the tree make it? Both my gardeners, who also one is an arborist, don't think this tree will make it and want to recut the stump of the offended tree to prevent decay disease to the other stems, but no guarantees. I'm not an expert but just relaying the information. Update post 1. End of week, so I figured I would post an update. The officer got the report done the same day and he was able to reach out to the company who cut down my tree. He said he would reach out to me to settle this matter, but hasn't contacted me yet and doubt he will actually do so. The officer went above and beyond in getting a statement from the other parties and getting the contact information. I have handed over the police report and security video to my lawyer, who is putting together paperwork. I have not been able to get an arborist to the house yet to evaluate the monetary damages yet. Maybe an update next week, but this should be a slam dunk since all parties recognize the damages in the police report in case this does go to court. Comment, lawyer drafting paperwork, will be going after the homeowner, his insurance. Not enough update to post a new one yet. Hopefully arborist will come this week. Comment, not yet, waiting on lawyer still. Update post 2. This has been sitting in court for a while, but I keep getting PMs asking for updates. Tree company has default judgment pending as they have not answered anything in the near year since the case was filed. Neighbors Insurance believes the tree company should be held solely responsible and hasn't budged. No settlements offered yet to our demands of valuation. Near or around 6 figures valuation. Sum of comments. Commenter, unbelievable, a 4-year ordeal and still not resolved. How's the tree doing? Reply, 2 years were a wash as the case wasn't filed. Case really picked up last year after a change of attorney. We've trimmed the tree since and fertilized to promote stabilization heath due to a missing trunk, but it'll have to be removed entirely. Commenter, it was 1 tree, and you are valuing it at 100K. Can I ask how you would get to that number? Not being a wise ass, honestly. Reply, the arborist came in at a 30K valuation, treble damages plus trespassing monetary. Update post 3. Title, neighbor cut tree, some progress in courts. Their insurance had their motion to dismiss denied, so settlement conference happened today. They ignored my lawyer's requests to talk prior to get numbers, so the $0 offered from them in front of the judge wasn't a surprise. Our $125,000 request was $90,000 treble, $30,000 valuation from arborist, plus costs to restore the land, as it'll be physically impossible to restore the tree with the development over the past 40 to 50 years. Yeah, we're willing to negotiate, it's a giant game. Conference happened and the judge, graciously, got us from $0 to $20,000 and said it's a good deal. I turned it down and I suggested that if this is the carrier's only offer then we should go to trial, as we aren't considering the professional's report and just an image of the stump instead. Some back and forth and nothing really moved, including the defense disagreeing with NYS tree law that they were entitled to cut to the property line regardless if it killed the tree. Judge scheduled another settlement conference for the attorneys but mandated I'm there, which I thought was funny since I had no requirement to be there today, but she was surprised I said no to what was obviously $20,000 they were going to offer when the adjuster picked up the phone regardless. One thing I did throw at the carrier after we disagreed with the tree was touching his house was his client, defendant, requested Google Maps block his home, and it's now impossible to verify except through satellite that it was touching at home. It never was. All of this is bogus talk from both parties since it's settlement conference, but to me and my attorney they are grasping at straws to get the judge on their side. Sum of comments. Commenter, have you checked the county auditor office? Many now have street-level snapshots of each house as well as possibly higher resolution aerial photos. Reply, there's other methods like the county aerial maps that show you the tree never touched his property, but I believe the homeowner was just putting his foot in his mouth as he's claimed to all parties. That I said he can do it, with zero proof. The city said he's allowed to trim up to the property line regardless of any damage, injury, death of the tree, no proof, and obviously the city's official opinion is different than on a phone call. He stated the tree was touching his home, which would suggest the tree had a 40-foot wingspan at that point, which maybe I should get the arborist to adjust his numbers if that's the case, cause I don't think we went that far and high. Commenter: it sounds like only the other homeowner's insurance company is involved. Did nothing come from the landscaping company being unlicensed? Was there ever more details about why they decided to lop it off at the base? Reply: we have a default judgment on them, no response from them since filing. Assets and insurance are questionable, so it might be blood from a stone. I assume their insurance also attempted to see about this, which is why they are hesitate to pay anything either. Commenter: this has been going for 5 years. Reply: first 2 years the original lawyer did nothing, so it really doesn't count. Filing started in 2021 and finally 3 years later we're in pre-trial settlement to attempt to prevent a trial. That seems about normal for civil matters. Final update post. Even though my last thread had some doubters that this case could take so long. The last update was the homeowner's insurance agreed to $20,000 and I turned it down and requested to go to trial. One Redditor in the previous thread said there is no way this is worth any of it, but well, the homeowners came up to $33,000 and I accepted that and rolled the dice on the tree company. The judgment came out after we did an inquest hearing and the judge awarded the remaining balance of our damages. $63,000. So yeah, some cases can take long, and to the doubters who think trees aren't worth money. Here it is. Edit: lawyer is 1/3 of anything recovered. Lawyer got $11K so far, me $22K, insurance check. We do the same split for anything we get from the tree company. Comments. Commenter: yeah, we need an update on how the tree is and pictures if possible. Reply: tree is still here, although it does green over the years. You can clearly see it's less and less, specifically with the amount of branches dying. The evergreen cypress variant we have, arborists don't kill me for misnaming it, we planted along the side of the neighbor are all 10 to 15 foot tall now, making a wall from the neighbor as I wait options on what to replace it with because we like the shade it throws over the backyard with our other trees. When I finish the backyard cleanup I'll post a photo for the sub. Commenter: I read back through some of your posts. I want to bottom line this. You got default for $63,000 from the tree company, which probably means the company is judgment proof, so good luck collecting. After paying your lawyer, you are getting $33,000 from your neighbor's insurance company. After all this, how much are you getting and how much is the lawyer getting? How are your relationships in the neighborhood with other neighbors? Did they take sides in this controversy when you sued him for 6 figures for a tree? Reply: lawyer is 1/3 of anything physically in our pockets. He's gotten around $13K and we've walked with $20K so far since the insurance check came in. We don't believe they are judgment proof. They have 2 cherry pickers that we know of, numerous assets in a lot, chippers, stump grinders, plus other trucks. Since the last thread they have become a much larger company, so we're hoping to try and recover, and if not, see if we can just sell the judgment for pennies on the dollar. My neighbors don't care, our neighborhood is quite dense and urban. No one's even aware of this, lol. Stories number 20. Bought a box of science stuff at auction. It contains unexpected medical specimens, some quite grim. What do I do? In short, I bought a box of assorted science stuff at an auction, remotely. So I hadn't inspected it in person and the photos were from a distance, so it wasn't obvious what it all was. Honestly, I was mostly excited about the rocks and minerals I could see in the picture. Having picked it up today, I've realized it must have been the personal collection of a doctor, because it includes quite a lot of bottles of various people's gallstones, labeled on the side with info about the patient, but no names. A piece of skin it says he took from a post-mortem, presumably without consent, and, worst of all, 2 fetuses, one aborted, one taken from killed mother. They're old enough to be historical-ish, most dates in the 1940s, but obviously I am now accidentally in possession of human remains, I think. And have no idea what to do or who to call. Obviously I A, don't want them, and B, don't think the auction house should have sold them, and C, don't just want to throw them away. What do I do, please? Sorry for grim subject matter. Sum of comments. Commenter: is there a medical school near you? They will have procedures for ethical disposal of human remains and may be able to help you. It is legal to sell human remains in this country. Reply: I think so. I will call them and feel like a giant weirdo doing so. Thanks. Commenter: local medical school and donate. Can you identify which university Dr. was a lecturer at? As an option to donate. Reply: I don't think he worked at a university, it looks like he was the village doctor who also performed post-mortems. Commenter: you need to contact either the police or a local coroner via 101 as others have suggested. Regardless of the age of the specimens, they are still governed by the HTA. This means a chain of custody has to be followed precisely. The auction house is likely to get into serious trouble for selling these. The fetus and skin are not exceptions under historical object clauses. These are typically used for pre-19th century. You are unlikely to get into any trouble as long as you voluntarily report as it's clearly in good faith. Reply: thank you, this is the kind of response I was expecting. Was very surprised to see people recommending I sell them on or that it's totally fine to put people's skin on eBay. Commenter: why wouldn't you want to keep them? They sound incredibly interesting. Reply: I feel extremely weird about owning a fetus from a woman who didn't agree to it being taken, and would probably be horrified to think it's in a jar in some random person's house 80-odd years after she was killed. The gallstones, I dunno, I guess I just never wanted a collection of pieces of other people's cholesterol. Updates and comments. 1 hour later, update, currently on phone with police non-emergency. Not going to lie, they sounded pretty baffled, and I've been on hold several times. But explained about the bits of people in there, an appendix, the piece of skin, the gallstones, someone's tapeworm, the fetuses, etc., and they're taking notes and will tell me what to do next. 11 minutes later, they said they might come out and take the box, but then they rang back and asked me to email some photos. I hope they don't want photos of all the bottles of gallstones individually because there are tons. This guy liked his gallstones. 25 minutes later, emailed photos. They are coming round at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Would not confirm whether they will take the grim stuff. I hope they do because I really do not want to deal with it, especially since some of it looks like it's leaking. 5 minutes later, the worst part of all of this is that I only bought it to get some cool rocks, and the rocks aren't even cool as it turns out. Update post: hello LAUK, thank you for the help with my post yesterday. Lots of you asked for an update, so here it is. Quick recap of the situation: I often buy interesting old and unwanted stuff at auction. My local auction house still does in-person auctions, which you can either go along to yourself, or you can watch the live stream and bid online. You can also place bids on lots from their website, without seeing the item in person. This is how I ended up buying a box of miscellaneous scientific stuff which I thought might contain some cool rocks and equipment. The rocks, as it turned out, weren't that cool. But the box ended up being the personal collection of weird stuff of a doctor who was practicing around the 1940s. There were bottles, so many bottles, of gallstones, a worm found in a child, an appendix, some skin, and, sadly, 2 human fetuses in jars. I didn't want this stuff and didn't know what to do with it, so I asked my most knowledgeable friend and she said to post anonymously here, so I did. Lots of recommendations to talk to the police non-emergency number, and failing that, universities, hospitals, museums and some kind of macabre Instagram account. To the dude who PM'd me offering me photos of your gallbladder operation. I'm not into gallstones. I have no desire to see that, thanks. The update: after a lot of "air hold please," and "there was an appendix in there," and "human fetuses," and "how was this box described," and "how much did you pay for this," the police made an appointment to come round and see the box at 4 p.m. today. They have just left and thankfully took all the human samples with them. This is a huge relief to me as I didn't want it and also didn't want the responsibility for disposing of it properly. The police were pretty surprised by the call apparently. Sorry to the lady next to the call handler who was apparently eating pasta when she heard about the stuff in the box, but they've spoken to the Human Tissue Authority who are going to help them dispose of it all properly. Apparently it shouldn't have been sold without the auction house having the appropriate license, so they're going to speak to them, but not in a punitive way, more of a heads up, and it will be recorded as a crime but no one's being punished or anything. Apparently I'm not being recorded as the criminal or the victim, just a connected person. Big thanks to the people who took the time to let me know that the preserving fluid in the jars was probably formalin, which is carcinogenic. Unfortunately I was not wearing gloves but I did scrub my hands afterwards, thankfully. At least one of the jars had leaked quite badly, the appendix had no liquid left and you could see the lid of one of the other jars was almost eaten through as well, so I wish I'd been more careful but at least I know now, and someone's informing the auction house too as they obviously handled it also. I did ask if the family of the older fetus could be traced, because although the fetus would be in their 70s now if they'd lived, it says on the label that the mother was killed, so she hadn't given consent for her baby to be removed and put in a jar forever, and I thought there might be a family out there somewhere who'd like to lay her unborn child to rest, perhaps with her. The police weren't too confident of finding out whose fetus it was because there's not much info on the label, no patient names or anything, but they said they would try. The other fetus was from an abortion, so although I suspect again the mother didn't consent to it being put in a jar and eventually sold to this random woman, at least I guess she probably didn't want it back and I suspect her family wouldn't even have known she had the abortion, so not much reason to try to trace that one. The police asked if I'd like to be updated with what happens to the samples, to which I've said yes. I would particularly like to know that the two fetuses are put to rest somehow and don't end up, as some people suggested in the comments and my DMs, as attractions on someone's Instagram or sold for profit. The other stuff might have some educational use maybe, I don't know. I don't mind if that ends up in a museum or something if it's helpful to future med students. Finally, I've put pictures of the contents of the box in an album here if you want to see them. I hope it goes without saying that this does not include the two fetuses, although the labels are there so you can see I wasn't making it up. Obviously caution is advised etc., many grim gallstones and worms and whatnot in there, as well as what seems to be one of the things you put in people's mouths before anesthetic existed, a medicine spoon, a weird box contraption that was apparently for bloodletting, and some other bits I can't identify. There are some slides but whatever was on them is mostly gone, it looks like. There's a piece of paper with the doctor's name on if you want to see who he was. There's a picture of the auction listing in there too so you can see how I thought I was buying a box of rocks with some bottles of smaller rocks. It really wasn't obvious. I spotted the radiometer near the back and all the mineral samples and thought it was just cool science equipment and types of rock. I would never have bought it had I known the horror that is, I've just handled a stranger's appendix in a jar from the 1940s and the liquid is leaking, also it causes cancer. What a Monday that was. Thank you all again for your help and I hope this is the update you wanted. I feel much better now those things are out of my house. Stories number 21. Aita for leaving the weekend friend trip after being made to sleep on the couch. I, F29, and Josie, F30, have been friends since high school. We live apart but still keep in very regular contact. I was invited to stay with her and her husband, Leo, M30, for a few days because their town was having a huge annual festival that we were all interested in attending. They had asked me to come early this year. Maybe a month or so before, they informed me they invited some college friends to stay for the weekend as well. I was excited for this because I have only met their college friends a handful of times and I know they are really close. The plan was for me to stay Thursday through Monday. I should also preface that when Josie and Leo bought their home, I stayed with them for a month while I was between jobs. This was many years ago now, but since it has been dubbed my room. It is obviously not actually mine, but I have stayed in it every time I have visited them since. I drove 4 hours to their place on Thursday. When I arrived, their college friends were there already and I was shocked to see it wasn't just them. Josie and Leo had invited their friend Shane and his fiancée, and their friend Sarah and her husband. I have met Shane and Sarah before but not their partners. I was immediately irritated because it felt like a couple's get-together already. I have a partner of nearly 3 years who I live with, Oliver, who Josie and Leo have met several times, and he was not invited on this trip. I tried to get over the awkwardness and exchange pleasantries, until I went to go upstairs and put my bag away and Josie and Leo stopped me and told me that Shane and his fiancée were staying in that room. I was like whoops my bad I should not have assumed and asked if I was in the other, smaller guest room. They said no, Sarah and her husband were in there. They told me then that they hoped I was okay with sleeping on the couch. I was really trying not to be too annoyed or cranky about this, but I had just driven 5 hours and was under the impression I was getting a bedroom for the weekend, mostly because we had this weekend planned for months and they had never mentioned otherwise. I would not have been opposed to a couch sleep for maybe one night, but there was no way I was going to sleep on the couch for the entire weekend, especially since we'd be drinking and partying pretty heavily. I asked them why they didn't tell me plans had changed so I could get a hotel sooner and they insisted they didn't think I'd have a problem sleeping on the couch. Apparently Sarah and her husband were planning on getting a hotel but waited too long and couldn't find an affordable one last minute. At this point I was really irritated, both by the partner situation and the sleeping arrangements. I called Oliver and he was upset for me. We both looked for hotels in the area but could not find anything affordable for the entire weekend. I told Oliver about the couples and he was annoyed to not be invited, since he likes Josie and Leo a lot. Finally, after like an hour of back and forth, Oliver asked if I wanted to come home and I honestly really did. I privately told Josie and Leo the first was uncomfortable by the situation, wished everyone a good weekend, and drove back home. I got a call Saturday morning from Josie and she said she was really disappointed that I had acted so rashly and she wished that I had stayed. I told her that I didn't understand why she didn't update me on the sleeping situation as soon as she knew about it, and she told me the only reason I was booted to the couch is because Sarah and her husband both couldn't fit. So then I asked her why she didn't invite Oliver if she had invited the other couples and she just said sorry they hadn't thought about it. I told her that I was upset and hurt by the situation and I didn't regret leaving. I received another message from her last night saying everyone had left and she was really disappointed in me and that I ruined her weekend because she was upset the entire time. I am starting to feel bad and also FOMO from not being there. I had been really looking forward to the festival and hanging out with everyone. Anyway, Aita for leaving. Edit. As I am reading through the comments I am untangling some of the feelings I was having. I am upset by being assigned to the couch, especially because it was last minute and I was not told beforehand. An entire weekend of partying with an uncomfortable sleeping arrangement and no privacy really sounded miserable. I am not 22 anymore, but I do think I am more upset about Oliver's exclusion and just didn't piece it together, really held on to the couch as an excuse. It really did feel like it was made into a couple's weekend and somehow Oliver and I were excluded from that. I hated immediately feeling like the seventh wheel. Edit 2. I did not know Shane and Sarah's partners were going to be there literally until I walked in and saw them. Stories number 22. Scanned my local Best Buy out of several $100s. TLDR, they messed up charging the gift cards. I lied and told them I threw away $700 in gift cards since they were used. They took $700 off the ticket and upgraded us to a nicer PC for the inconvenience. We spent the $700 in gift cards at a different Best Buy. Couple years ago my ex and I were set on building or buying her a gaming PC. She asked for nothing but Best Buy gift cards from the whole family for her birthday and Christmas. She ended up getting $300 in Best Buy gift cards and I bought her a $400 Best Buy gift card. Few months later we got a tax return or something. Either way we had the money. We went to Best Buy and made our purchase. We decided on a tower that was like $1,500. While the clerk was ringing us up, I could tell something wasn't working properly and intentionally kept all the used up gift cards when we left. Just in case. We had to order the PC and expected it to be in within 3 to 5 business days. Surprise surprise, we got the call a few days later that the payment didn't go through and that they needed to run the gift cards again. Here's where I do feel a bit morally bad. I told them I threw them in the trash and had no idea where they were. Told them our trash had already been picked up. Then I kind of doubled down on being a terrible person and told the guy we had big plans to play games with a family member all weekend before he was being deployed and this was a major inconvenience. It was half true, but it wasn't really going to be impossible for us to game without the new PC. We were all playing Minecraft and she was happy to play on the Xbox. The manager begged me to make sure the gift cards weren't still in the house somewhere, but I lied and insisted that they were gone for good. We ended up being able to keep the $700 in gift cards which we used elsewhere, and the manager upgraded us to an in-stock model that was significantly nicer and about $250 more expensive than the one we'd already picked out. So we got an almost $1,800 gaming PC for about $1,000. Then she divorced me and kept the PC. Stories number 23. Aita for not letting my in-laws stay with us after I turned the spare room into my office. My wife and I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. No kids, just the two of us. For the past couple years, the second bedroom was basically our unofficial guest room, mainly for her parents, who visit maybe once or twice a year. I work from home full-time and had been working from the corner of our living room for way too long. A few weeks ago, I finally set up a proper home office in the spare room. Got a decent chair, desk, monitor, used some saved-up money to make it actually functional. Honestly, it's made a huge difference in how I work. Her parents are planning a visit this month and assumed they'd be staying with us like they usually do. My wife let them know that since the room is now my office, it's not set up for overnight guests anymore, but we'd be happy to pay for a hotel or Airbnb nearby. I'll still be working during their visit, so having them in the same space just wouldn't work logistically. They didn't take it well. Her mom made a snide comment like, "Didn't realize we needed a reservation now," and her dad asked why I thought a desk was more important than family. Now there's tension, and my wife is feeling weird about the whole thing. I genuinely didn't mean to upset anyone. I thought offering to cover a nearby place was a fair compromise. They're still welcome to hang out with us all day, I just need a quiet space to work. But now I'm wondering if I handled it wrong or came off cold. Aita for not making the office a temporary guest room again. Stories number 24. Aita for telling my mom I deserve a say in my own sweet 16 after I paid for most of it. I'm 16F and I've basically been raising myself emotionally for years. My dad was never really around and he passed away, so it's been just me and my mom, 45F. She loves to constantly remind me that she put a roof over my head like that's some prize-winning achievement for a parent. Anytime I speak up, she flips it into how she's the victim and I'm this horrible, ungrateful child. Since I was little, she's let her best friend co-parent me, which really just means they've treated me like garbage together. Her best friend has always been controlling and rude, and even thinks I'm gay and has literally tried to punish me over it. My mom just goes along with it. Now here's the kicker, for my sweet 16, which is a big deal in my culture, I've been saving up from an under-the-table job. I helped to pay for the venue. I paid for the dress. I've put in way more effort and money than a child should ever have to. And once everything was almost ready, my mom and her best friend decided they're going to cancel the whole thing. No discussion. Just cancelled. So I said, hey, I helped pay for this, and this is supposed to be my party, I deserve a say. Apparently that was me having an attitude. She took my phone, made me delete social media, and said if I want the party so bad, I should pay for everything and get a real job. Except here's the plot twist, she won't let me get a work permit, a license, or even go to interviews without a fight. I finally got interviews anyway and now she's calling me ungrateful and saying I'm trying to raise myself like that's a bad thing. I feel like no matter what I do, I get punished. I try to stand up for myself, I get silenced. I try to work, I'm disrespectful. I try to take control of my own life, and suddenly I'm the villain. So yeah. Aita for telling my mom I deserve a say in my Sweet 16 after I basically paid for it. Stories number 25. I'm reporting for jury duty tomorrow, and I'm scared. This will be my second time reporting for jury duty. The first time completely wrecked me. In that trial, the defendant was an old unhoused man. He was attacked by a hotel owner for sitting at the edge of the parking lot, eating a McDonald's meal. The hotel owner shoved him into the street, throwing his things across the street, and yelling at him to go where the garbage belongs, until the old man retaliated with his walking stick, hitting him in the face. The old man was charged with aggravated assault. And, for a good chunk of the trial, I thought we would have to find him guilty. I couldn't think of what he could have done differently though. He was so scrawny, I could see his ribs. He had a bad hip, hence the walking stick, so he couldn't easily get away. This ended up being the reason we acquitted him, he had no other option. But during the trial, I didn't know that would matter, legally. I thought self-defense had to be proportional. The prosecutor, during her opening statement, put heavy emphasis on proportionality, opening her statement with, "Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words may never hurt you." Yeah, words. The hotel owner ended up lying in court. There were two eyewitnesses, telling the same story. He said, I walked up to him, and politely asked him to leave. He stood up, and said no. So I politely offered to carry his things. He kept emphasizing how polite he was. He said no again, and waved his stick in my face. So I picked up his things, walked across the street, and put them down. I didn't throw it, nobody brought up throwing anything, he volunteered that information. Despite the verdict, the police killed his dog. There were no bite marks, according to the officer that arrested him, but they murdered her anyway. Turns out, innocent till proven guilty, doesn't apply if you can't afford bail. I could barely eat that whole week. I was unable to finish my school assignment, cause I was so stressed, I shut down. I don't want to go back to that courthouse. Certainly, I'll be better prepared, and more knowledgeable, this time, and I'm not gonna go out of my way to get out. But just the idea of entering that building. I can't even go to that part of town without getting shortened breath. Stories number 26. AIO for breaking up with my boyfriend after the snack incident and everything that came with it. Some of you might remember my post about my boyfriend eating a snack I specifically told him not to touch. It sounds silly, but it wasn't about the food, it was just one example in a long line of moments where I felt like my boundaries and feelings didn't matter. He'd interrupt me when I was talking, forget things I told him were important, minimize how I felt every time I brought something up. Over time, it chipped away at me. I felt small. I felt like I was always trying to keep the peace instead of being heard, so I broke up with him. Calmly. I said, it's not about the pudding cup. It's everything, it's the way I feel dismissed, like what I say doesn't register with you. And do you know what he said? Well, maybe if you labeled it better, I wouldn't have eaten it. Followed by, most girlfriends would have just let it go, but you like to be dramatic. At that point, I realized I made the right choice. Now I'm getting side eyes from some mutuals saying I overreacted, that it's not a big enough reason to throw away a relationship. But honestly, I was exhausted trying to explain the difference between being chill and being disrespected. AIO for choosing to walk away from someone who constantly made me feel small, even if the last straw was a pudding cup. Stories number 27. Aita for not taking my children an extra day per week outside of the custody agreement. Divorced for 1 year with 60-40 custody of our 4 kids. Ex asked I would keep the kids an extra day during the week every week for the whole summer. He works outside with a very physical job and said that he can't parent well when he's so exhausted. At first, I agreed because I remember how whipped he would be coming home in the summer. We live in Florida. After he was a major jerk for the 11th millionth time and extreme pettiness over the kids' cell phones, including name-calling and bashing me, I decided that I'm done doing him favors. I let him know that if wants to adjust the timeshare, we would have to go back to court and child support would need to be adjusted accordingly. Aita for this. Edit to add, he's always been a decent father and the kids are happy and safe with him. Side note, I have 4 kids and he pays less than $900 per month in child support. It doesn't even cover groceries and he refuses to assist with any of their expenses outside of the court-ordered expenses, summer camp and extracurricular activities like sports, cheer, etc. Stories number 28. I became an urban legend at my elementary school. I, 21F, had an incident at my primary school, when I was in first grade, when my ankle got stuck between the ground and the edge of a swing from multiple people. It was made of metal and heavier than 6-year-old me, and it happened because I exited the swing before it stopped moving. Little kid decisions. The playground was removed because of what happened and up until now, hasn't returned. I went there to visit my old teachers to bring them gifts just because, and while waiting outside my 6th grade advisor's classroom, I heard kids whispering about a girl who lost her foot in the playground and that it was buried there, so the place where the playground was previously on is now cursed. It was just a pebble-sized wound, but I wailed like it was gonna kill me, so little did they know that the girl who cursed the playground was behind them. I hope the urban legend lives on, though, maybe my kids someday will tell me about it and then there's gonna be a grand reveal. Stories number 29. Aita for not going to my parents' house overnight because I don't want to share a room with my sister again. I'm 19F, almost finished my freshman year of college. When I moved out in July I knew I didn't want to go home to live or even spend the night again. When I went home for Christmas I stayed with grandparents. When I visited for birthdays I stayed with my grandparents. This was talked about but I put my foot down and told my parents and sister, 15, that it's how it would be. They didn't like it but I didn't give in. My grandparents have agreed to let me stay for the summer. My parents were upset when they heard I was going to my grandparents again instead of coming home. They told me my old room is there just like I left it. The problem for me is it's not my old room. It was mine and my sister's room. We always shared and I hated it. My sister was never my favorite person but I was her almost always and she does not respect boundaries or personal space. She was a clinger and she made sharing with her miserable for me. She was climbing into my bed at night and I found out a few years ago that she'd spill stuff on her bed intentionally at times just to share with me. She was always trying to cuddle me without consent and even when I explicitly said no, she would never respect the 1-hour rule where we were supposed to be allowed the room for 1 hour without the other going in. Not to mention she was so messy and would bring food into the room and let it spoil. She had this candle she loved the scent of but I hated and it gave me so many headaches. Even without the room she was clingy. She always wanted to spend time with me. She got jealous when I went out with friends. She tried to drag me along to hangouts with her friends. I couldn't do anything without her begging to tag along. There was never enough time dedicated to her. If we did something together she'd throw a fit when it ended and it was worse if I went to do something else with someone else. And she'd skip plans with her friends, even parties, if I had nothing on. That happened so much that some of her friends stopped being her friends because she'd do this stuff without telling them. And she'd cry when I didn't hang out with her after she skipped stuff. Our parents never helped. They told me sharing a room was good for us and being so close was good for us. When I told them the closeness was one-sided they told me I'd look back when I was in college and I'd be glad I had those years because I'd be miserable without her and I'd be stuck with some roommate who wouldn't make me so happy. The truth is I finally feel like I can breathe. I don't miss my sister. I don't look back fondly on the years we shared a room. The reason I never go back to my parents is I'd be right back to sharing with her and I could never do it again. When I was visiting she was just as clingy and she gets angry when I don't text her and call her every day. I have tried to set boundaries before with my sister. I tried to bargain with her too. But she'd ignore my boundaries and ignore my bargains and she'd do what she wanted. My sister's upset I'm not coming home to stay for the summer. She asked our grandparents if she could stay with them for the summer too and they told her they didn't have space. She said it was okay and we'd share their spare bedroom. But the answer was no. My parents told me I'm being childish and sharing is normal and I'm not okay if I don't miss it at all. They said everyone complains about sharing as kids but when they spread their wings they miss the comfort of it. And they said a good sibling would never hate that time with their sibling. Stories number 30. I told my girlfriend, 22F, that I, 24M, definitely haven't bought a ring yet after she told me she would say no. Why am I in trouble? Edit. I want to make it work. I stayed up last night sobbing because I love her so fucking much I don't know what I can do to make her feel loved. I know the honeymoon phase thing but I can't think that's not her and our good times are amazing and I don't want anyone else even if it's better. I can't imagine my life without her. I'm starting from the beginning so you can get the whole picture. I 24M have been with my girlfriend 22F for a year and 2 months. When we first met we clicked instantly. I think we stayed together for the first 10 days non-stop and I felt like time stood still. For the first 6 months of us being together were absolutely amazing. Every day I wanted nothing but to come home and spend time together. We spoke on wedding venues and after her graduation on getting a farm, kids' names, dogs' names, vacations, we spoke about what it meant to live and we agreed, and it was the best thing I have ever felt. And then slowly, piece by piece, everything that was absolutely amazing and wonderful about this relationship has changed. We moved in together about 8 months ago, and it's been extremely difficult for me because I feel like everything that made me who I was before has been stripped away to conform into who she needs me to be. I used to shoot billiards 2 nights a week on a league, and I stopped doing that because she upset that it took so much of my time and she didn't like the people that went to that bar. I haven't been to my parents' house but maybe 4 times in the last 8 months because she doesn't like the way they make me want to stand up for myself. I stopped running a company I founded 6 years ago because she wanted me to get a real job. I used to work out every day, sometimes twice a day, and she doesn't like when I go because she feels like I'm doing it to look good for other women. She is in school full time. On top of school she is working 2 jobs, so I know how stressed she is. I have let a lot of things slide because I know when you're stressed and have nothing you can do to fix it. It comes out as anger towards me. Like she's taking her stress out on me. I would be able to survive the occasional outburst, but it's turned into something different. If I breathe, I'm breathing too loud. If I chew my food, it's the grossest thing she's ever seen. If I try and initiate, I am a misogynist who only wants her for her body. If I don't want to, when she does, I'm ruining her mental health by making her feel ugly. If I do the dishes, I'm doing it to make her feel bad. If I clean, it was just to make her feel bad or get something out of it. If help out with her bills, I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. If I don't, then I'm selfish. Example 1: everything that goes wrong is my fault. The TV remote died, and if I wasn't such a cheap ass and got the good batteries like she said, we wouldn't need to use our phones for the Roku. Example 2: she couldn't get the toenail polish off of her toes before photos and I had to run to the store to get removed. She said to go to Walmart. Walgreens was like 10 times closer, so I got acetone cotton wipes and I got her a nail polish color that I thought would match her cords and stolly. When I got back, she asked what took me so long and where the stuff was. When the polish wouldn't come off, she said, "This is why I fucking hate men and I fucking can't stand you. You can't do a simple fucking task right. I asked you for acetone from Walmart and you got me the shitty fucking garbage from Walgreens. This is the dumbest fucking color. Why the fuck would I use this color? Do you even fucking know me? Why the fuck would I use this color? Answer me." Example 3: this was a couple months back and things were looking up and I had to run by the mall for some work clothes. In the mall I went into a jewelry store and they had the exact ring she wants, like absolutely perfect. The perfect cut, the perfect band, the perfect size, and it was a big ol' rock. The ring was custom for someone else who went with something different, so it was discounted heavily. Now I can completely understand her not wanting to have a discount ring. But it was still pushing the limits of what I could afford. And so I asked her and she said, "If you propose to me, I don't care who it is in front of, who it is around, where we are at. I will say no you. I don't want to be tied to anyone while I'm still in college, and I don't want to be tied to you during my internship, leaving for 3 months this summer. And I don't want a discount ring because you can't afford a decent ring." This absolutely fucking crushed me. It made me completely rethink the relationship and take a step back. In combination with the past few months and how she's been treating me and speaking to me and acting around me. So last night she when asked, "Was it 4 or 6 carats, the ring you showed my friend that you got, was it 4 or 6? The only thing I could think to reply was, "I definitely have not purchased a ring. I don't know what to do this morning. She won't speak to me and I feel like it slipped so far that I don't know what to do. I want to travel back in time and just remember who I was dating, but I feel like she's gone." Stories number 31. My partner has an IQ of 72. My partner is in a college work training program. They are struggling and have been referred to student support to see if they have a mental disability of some sort. Part of his chats included an IQ test. He scored 72. Part of me isn't surprised. They do struggle a lot with simple tasks and lack a lot of common sense. But also, a fish wasn't born to climb a tree, you know. He is a nice guy, but now that I know that number, things feel a bit different. It's not him just being young and learning how live life. I might have to carry the mental load for them for the rest of my life. I don't want kids now, but maybe one day I will. Am I going to be the one that has to do everything? My parents haven't said anything to me directly, but I know they think he is very immature. I don't have many friends as well, tbh. Most of my human contact is him. But the few times I am around other people my age, I have noticed that I don't feel like I am grown up enough to be around them. I feel like he is making me forget how to behave, if that's even possible. I wish I didn't know his score. Stories number 32. I told my husband I had to travel for work. The truth is harder to explain. My husband and I have both worked from home for 5 years. That means 24/7 togetherness. No commutes. No office breaks. No solo grocery runs. Just us. Always. All the time. I really do love him. This isn't about wanting to leave or cheat or blow up our marriage. But somewhere along the way, I started to feel like I was dissolving. Like there was no space that was just mine. No thoughts that were just mine. No silence that wasn't filled with someone else's voice. So I lied and told him my company was hosting a mandatory multi-day event at HQ that's a 3-hour drive from my house. I even packed work clothes and my laptop to sell it. In reality, I took PTO, booked a hotel 3 hours away, and left. Right now, I'm lying in a hotel bed just doing nothing. There's something incredibly peaceful about knowing this little pocket of time is mine and mine alone. No one knows where I am. No one needs me. I'm not hiding anything scandalous. I know lying isn't great. But I also know if I'd told the truth, it would have hurt his feelings or started a weird argument. This way, I get what I need and no one gets hurt. And honestly, it's been wonderful. I think my work will probably host more mandatory events in the future. ETA, a lot of people are asking why I didn't just talk to him about needing space. That only considers my side. His feelings matter too, and here's the truth, his needs directly conflict with mine. He finds comfort in constant closeness. He would be hurt to hear that I need time apart, even if he says he supports it. We would talk, he would agree to my alone time, and I would still take the time. But now he's sad I wanted it, and I feel guilty for needing it. The result is the same, just heavier for both of us. How is that better? And yes, it's also true that talking to him about it takes away the feeling of freedom and independence I get from just deciding this on my own. Both reasons can be, and are, true at the same time. Stories number 33. Ex-wife quit her job and filed a motion to pay $0 in child support. Custody, divorce and family. Update. The sheriffs just visited my office and I was just served an ex parte PFA for harassment, even though I have not seen my ex-wife in 8 years in person outside of court obligations signed by same lawyer she hired. Location. Indiana. Ex-wife was ordered to pay $100 a week in child support. I have primary residential custody of our shared child and am the custodial parent who receives support. During the child support hearing, she did not disclose that she receives 90% VA disability. Although it cannot be garnished, it can be counted as income as per Indiana state law. Unfortunately, the state only used her job as a bank teller to calculate the previous support amount. Most recently, she has quit her job, and has ironically afforded to hire a lawyer to file a motion to pay $0 in child support since she is no longer full-time employed. However, she also has a dog walking business that she does, so she earns income there, in addition to the approximate $3,000 a month she receives from military disability benefits plus GI Bill funds for enrolling in college, $1,500 per month. How is it fair that she quit her job, doesn't disclose the $4,500 of income per month, and now gets to contribute nothing? I believe all of this is done purposely to slight me as a parent and not provide for our child since I have remarried. I pay all medical, school, sports, food, allowances, etc. for our child. I received the motion to modify child support and hearing is pending. Last time the state represented me, will it be the same this time? What should I expect? Stories number 34. Coworker started lecturing me because I didn't want to do her job for her. A coworker came into my office to ask me to write info on some invoices. I told her I sent her all this information by email. She said she needs help with it. I did the same action she was supposed to do, did a search in the email. I wrote the info on a few invoices, but left the last one to go over with her to understand why she had difficulties to find it herself. When I came to her office and told her I wanted to go over it with her, she said, "Never mind. Leave it." After 15 minutes or so I received a call from her in which she started to scold me for not doing this action for her. She stated saying shit like, "Nothing would have happened to you if you wrote it, and, if someone asks for your help you should help just like I always reply if you have any questions." I told her that nothing would have happened to her too if she wrote it, and that I never ask her for things I can do myself. That everything I ever asked her was directly related to her responsibilities at work. Never was a thing I was supposed to do myself and just decided to ask her, or anyone else, to do for me. I'm sure nothing of this penetrated her thick skull. I'm still pissed off at her audacity and her feeling of entitlement. Stories number 35. Aita for telling my mom she shouldn't expect loyalty from a daughter she treats like a guest. I, F22, recently got into a huge argument with my mom that's torn the family apart. Background: I'm the only child from my mom's first marriage. She remarried when I was 10 and had 2 more kids with my stepdad. Ever since, I've felt like I've been pushed aside. They do family vacations without me. They go out for dinner without inviting me. Even on holidays, I get like a $30 gift card while my siblings, 10 and 12, gets really expensive gifts. When I brought this up, she said I'm grown now and shouldn't expect the same treatment. Recently, my car broke down and I asked if she could help me pay for repairs, nothing major, like $350. She said no, they were saving for family things. So I just snapped and said, you shouldn't expect loyalty from a daughter you treat like a guest in her own home. Now she's saying I'm entitled and emotionally manipulative. My stepdad says I'm jealous and trying to guilt trip them. But my aunt took my side and said my mom has always played favorites. Aita for what I said. Stories number 36. I quit my job after another employee stated, "You're going to get punched in the face someday." I want to apologize if this is long, but I would like to give as much context as I can. If the formatting is crazy, sorry, I'm on my mobile. I, 35F, started working as a dietary aide, cook, at an adult healthcare facility at the end of January. On my third day of training, the aide A, 24F, who got hired the same day as me but started her training sooner than I, were introduced. She seemed a little standoffish, but that's okay, we were both new so I understood. My trainer and I finished our meal and had a little time before serving. The aide had already swept the kitchen so I offered to mop, trying to be helpful. I hadn't realized she was on the phone, so when I didn't get a clear yes or no I just went ahead and grabbed the mop. I didn't get far before she came up to me and said, not to sound like AB asterisk or anything, but when I say I want to do something I want to do it because I have a certain way I want it done. I put the mop in the bucket, said, okay, not a problem. Here you go. I went outside to smoke a cigarette with my trainer and let her know I messed up by trying to help. Both of us were a little confused by it but shrugged it off. A little later she was taking apart the coffee pots, so I went to see how they do it. She gave me a WTF kind of look and ignored me, so I walked away. She was still on a phone call, BTW, which is against company policy to be on your phone. At this point I could tell we were probably not going to get along, which is fine. Not everyone is everyone's cup of tea. Now usually the aide goes out about an hour before serving to set up napkin, silverware, and cups for the residents, and about 5 minutes before serving goes out to fill the cups with the residents' drinks. For some reason she decided to set up and pour drinks at the same time. This is a big no-no because we the cooks cannot serve anyone who doesn't have drinks, so we were having to wait on her. We have to push our meal cart to 3 different pods, the first pod A, second pod C, and third pod B. We were on the first pod when a CNA from C pod came over asking about the tables being set up. I let her know the aide was a little behind but would be there shortly. The aide then decides to yell, honestly I'm not sure if it was me or the CNA or both, I'm coming and you can get rid of the attitude real quick. The CNA just turned around, went back to her pod as I went back to the steam table to finish passing plates. After dinner the cooks break down the steam table, clean it and the pans, then have to wait for the aide to go pick up dishes and bring them back. This is supposed to happen in stages. First a pod, bring dishes to kitchen where the cook will wash and put away while the aide goes to C pod for their dishes, and so on. Well, she went and collected all 3 pods. I was prepared to wash the dishes, so I had the dishwasher trays set up in the order that I preferred. This pissed her off I guess, and she said something about me trying to get in the way of her job. I just ignored her and started putting the dishes she washed away. There were plates that still had food and oil stains on them from dinner, so I put them back to be rewashed. She snapped, what the F is your problem? You've had an attitude all night. Trying to tell me how to do my job. I told her, I do not have a problem, the plates are simply dirty still. She tried to say they weren't dirty, they were stained. No girl, there's still food on them, they're dirty. She calls me AB asterisk, then threatens to leave, which I tell her, go ahead, leave. No one is forcing you to stay here. As soon as the interaction ended I messaged the assistant manager to let her know what happened. The next day my manager talked to me, said the aide had apologized and said she would to me too, but she never did and her behavior stayed the same. She was constantly on her phone, even video calls while walking around the pods. Pretty sure this is illegal as residents were able to be seen in her calls, having inappropriate conversations for work, yelling, and not being able to get her work done because she was distracted. She would come in not wearing approved outfits, wouldn't wear a hairnet, always on the phone, wouldn't finish her duties, and then would leave not saying a word, and I would have to do everything by myself. I reported every incident. It came to a head last week when I was cooking with sugar and corn syrup at the stove and she pushed a trash can into me. I'm so glad I saw it coming and was able to push it away. I can only imagine what would have happened had that boiling pot fallen and spilled all over me. Neither manager took it serious. Okay, fine. The next night she put boiling water into a bin, then put the plates in the bin. Again, glad I saw her using boiling water because I could have been severely burned. Again, managers did not care. So on Sunday we were working together. I had just served C pod and left for B pod when a CNA came to ask about dessert. I said it was ice cream and asked if there was some in their kitchenette freezer. He said no, so I took him to the walk-in freezer, grabbed him ice cream. As I was starting to serve, the aide came up to me and asked, "Did you give so and so ice cream?" "Yes, I did." He said, "There wasn't any." "Well, you shouldn't have done that. Those ice creams are for specific people." "No, actually they're not." I gave him the right ice cream. "Well, I had it on my cart." "Okay, well they didn't have it, and if you had done your job I wouldn't have had to." She started talking, so I interrupted her and tell her, "Just go back to the kitchen and do your job. I'm not doing this." As she walked away she said, "You're going to get punched in the face someday." One of the CNAs there said, "You're a better woman than me." And for some reason the aide thought she was talking to her, so yelled, and she knows why. I breathed through it, finished serving, got my steam table to the kitchen and immediately went to call my boss. No answer, twice. So next, bet assistant manager. She answered immediately. I told her the situation, said I'm leaving. I won't stay in an environment where I felt unsafe. She said she was on the way. I went to the kitchen, cleaned the steam table and my area, clocked out and left. I met the manager as I was pulling out. Gave her the list of people who witnessed what happened and went home. Found out the aide decided to leave too once she realized I was gone, leaving the manager to do everything. I also reached out to HR to let her know what happened. She apologized, then asked for a meeting the next day. I go into work and of course same aide is there. I let my assistant manager know if she wasn't fired I was quitting. The aide did minor things to inconvenience me throughout the day. When it was time to wash dishes she just dumped them on the dishwasher tray, all scattered and crazy. I just snapped a picture, sent to my fiancé, and laughed about how childish she was. I went to the meeting with my manager and HR. It took less than 3 minutes. I explained what happened and she said, "When I spoke to aide about this I told her that no matter how she's feeling she can't act that way or say these things." I interrupted her, said, "This conversation needs to go no further. I quit. Good luck with that mess." I walked out, walked through the kitchen, clocked out and left. My assistant manager messaged immediately, "WTF happened? You were in there for like 30 seconds, I told her I told you I was quitting if nothing happened. So AIO, or did I do the right thing?" Stories number 37. Enjoy your bitter cup of morning coffee. My husband texted me at work last night after a 12-hour shift to ask me to grab milk on my way home, and I did. He's a 6-cup drinker a day, and he takes his coffee very seriously. His 400.00 cappuccino machine is his pride and joy. When I got home, he was just climbing into bed. I noticed the house smelled like garbage, so I asked him if he took it out. "No, I figured you would when you got home. He's been home for 5 hours already, but this is my job." "Okay, fine. I'll take out the trash at 1 a.m. He yells at me from the bedroom to turn off the outside light, it's too bright shining in the bedroom window. Guys, I need light to take out the trash. Besides, he wasn't even sleeping yet. What does it take 2 minutes to take out the trash? Anyway, I dumped the entire gallon of milk down the drain. Petty? Yes. Satisfying? Absolutely. Enjoy your black coffee, honey. It's gonna taste as bitter as your attitude. Stories number 38. You'll rue the day. This started about 15 years ago. I bought a house. In my town most houses have street parking. I wanted a driveway. No more fighting snow plows, packing snow against your car. No more not being able to park near your house. Etc. When I got the keys to my house, there was a car in the driveway. I asked my new older neighbor if he knew who it belonged to. He said, "Yeah, me." He said the previous owners let him park it there while they were renovating it, because he needed a space, and they wanted people to think someone lived there. Worked for both of them. I told him, "Cool, but I'm going to need the space, could he please move it?" He told me, "I really don't know where I'd put it." I told him, "Sorry, I understand. Please move it." We kept going over to the house, taking measurements, etc. Taking a few things each time. Carrying them up the driveway around his car. I'd keep asking him. He kept saying he would work on it. Finally 2 weeks later and many requests later, I knocked on his door. I told him tomorrow is the actual move-in day. I've got professional movers and a truck coming and the driveway would need to be clear. He said, "Sorry about your luck, I have permission to park there." I told him it really was weighing heavy on me, having to argue with my new neighbor. But I owned the property now. And if the car wasn't gone in the morning by 8 I was having it towed. He said, "Fuck you, tough shit." And slammed the door. It was gone the next morning. He stood outside and when I pulled in, he screamed at me, "You'll rue the day, you fucked with me." Well, okie dokie, for the next 15 years he made me miserable. He pointed spotlights at my back porch every time we sat out there. He even halfway painted his house, not half the sides. But like patches on half of each side, I'm not shitting you, and he said to me. So how you like this paint job? You'll be looking at this till you die. See what this does to your resale value. And laughed like a hyena. 8 years later it's still not painted. He'd play the god-awfulest music at 6 a.m. on Saturdays and point the speakers at my house. He would fire up chainsaws at 6 a.m. on Sunday mornings, cutting pieces of wood for no reason. It was non-stop. He did off-the-wall shit it would take days to tell you about. I'd try talking to them. I tried calling the police. I tried everything. He killed himself a couple months ago. And I feel bad about it. I spoke to his wife. Told her I was sorry for her loss. That if she needed anything, just ask. If she needed help lifting anything or anything at all, just ask. She looked me straight in the eye and said, if you'd have just let him park his car in your driveway, maybe he wouldn't have killed himself, so I don't need shit from you. This morning she threw a trash bag full of dog poop over into my yard. So it looks like the torch has been passed on to her. God help us.